Hey everyone, Catch 'em All Collectibles here, and tonight, as highly anticipated for the past year since his last visit, we have Mr. Papa Ketchum. We've got the dad, father-son investing duo here and ready to chat Pokemon for the night. So as always, if anyone has any questions, feel free to leave them in the chat. I do have a handful of questions that were given to me through Instagram and elsewhere beforehand. But yeah, normally I stay live until every question is answered. I can't really promise that tonight. I didn't remember going this long, but I looked, and last year my dad and I went for 4 hours and 10 minutes. We're probably going to hard cap it by like 9 p.m. Eastern, so about 2.5 hours. But yeah, how's it going tonight? You ready for answering some Pokemon questions?
Sure.
and I guess for anyone uninitiated, some people probably didn't watch my video 2 years ago. I'll provide a little background. So that's the mobile one. My dad just pulled the stream up on his phone. If you're watching mobile, you'll see just half of my head.
Half the screen.
It's weird. You want to be in. See, this is the one that like
everybody can see. Yep.
This mobile one is something that StreamYard does, and I guess I should just stop doing it. But it awkwardly, people are gonna see me talking to myself and hear you and not know where it's coming from. Oh, I should have moved this some. Let me make sure my mic will be able to pick him up. But a little bit of context, I guess. Not everyone on YouTube watches every video, but this is my dad. And 2 years ago, in a time where Pokemon investing was not really as mainstream as it is today, in a time where I'll show you too. If you watched my video a couple months ago, or a little over a month ago, we were buying ETB cases of 151 for $570 a piece. We were buying 151 UPC cases for $410 a piece. Cases, not individual units. One unit of this product is $1,100 now, and we were buying cases for $410. Now a case is $4,400. So in a time where the prevailing sentiment was not that Pokemon go up, Pokemon only go up, make tons of money, we set out on this little investing adventure, and the rest is kind of history, I guess. Every year, every 6 months to a year, I do an update. I show the spreadsheet. You can see what we added it on the pallets, pallet number 1 here, and the date and the amount, and then what the price is or what it was a month ago. I didn't update this. This isn't live updating. It keeps breaking. But yeah, Sword Shield booster box cases, around $1,000 a piece. Scarlet Violet era booster box cases, $500, $600 a case. Pallet 2, pallet 3. You can kind of see everything that's going on there. But just context, I sorted high to low, the biggest winners to the biggest losers, but some absolutely insane what Pokemon likes to do, what the Pokemon space likes to do, is talk about how obvious this was. The thing that I always push back with is like 2 years ago, here's the receipts. We were here buying Pokemon, setting it back for the long term. Where are the other videos? Where are the videos from people who were doing the same if it was so obvious? And where's the results? I'm very much one for showing receipts and transparency and all that. So that's a little bit of like setting the stage for what this is for anyone unfamiliar entirely. But some people, I'm sure, will know what's up for tonight. So yeah, ask your questions. Me, my dad, normal Pokemon market things, but we only have my dad here once a year generally. So if you have any catered towards him, feel free to ask away. But yeah, I guess I'll ask the first couple. I do have like a handful of them set back. I will star them as we go. Give me stop sign emojis. We got Mr. Bierski, Mr. Kevin. He will be up here next week. I don't think we'll do a live stream, but he asked, "Are we booming?" Would you say with the performance of I had multiple people request, Dan, find a way to get your dad to say we're booming on the live stream. Are we booming?
We're booming.
We're booming. We're booming.
Well,
I mean,
according to the numbers.
Yeah, according to the numbers, year one, just spoilers, if you want to go back and watch the videos, they're all there. But year one, the pallet number 1 specifically, 2x'd and then year two it 2x'd again. It was very clean and interesting how clean it was, but it went from 50K year one was roughly our cost, went to 100K on its first birthday, a little bit over 200K on its second birthday. And we're recording this a little after its second birthday, about a month after. But by all metrics, including pallet monetary value, we are booming for sure. How's it going, Thrifty? That's one. You remember Nick that you met a while back when we were walking into Marble Hill.
Oh yeah.
This is one of his employees. She streams for Nick. How's it going, Thrifty? Nice to see you here. I'll say hi to some of the people in here. Jay Flint, excited. Beerski's got his rocket emojis for the boom. Top signal. Dan's dad is on. It's funny. One of the most frequent comments on that video 2 years ago was like, Dan's got his dad investing by the pallet. He's scamming him. He's selling him all this Scarlet and Violet base, dud crap, top signal, sell everything. That was a bottom signal, I guess. That was a sign that we were about to take off. 2 words, we're booming. How's it going, Taco TTV, Mikey P, EE Caster, just popping in to say Dan has built something really cool by being open, transparent, and teaching us along the way. His dad must be proud. Appreciate you, Caster. The Mexican hipster. We were a couple minutes late. That was fully on me. Technical difficulties, getting things set up for the stream last minute. But yeah, I'm starring questions as we go. Okay. I'll continue starring questions as we go. But let me take one of the first ones from Ditto Faction. Ditto Faction was one of the few who reached out on Instagram. I posted a few hours ago. Shoot me a DM if you have any questions and you can't make the live streams. So this is where Ditto Faction asked, so what is Dad's opinion on the market? Are we booming? Are we early? Are we bubbling? Are we doomed? So like clearly, and I guess I'll ask it in a slightly different way. When we started 2 years ago, what would you have attributed the odds of the $50,000 investment 4xing over the first 2 years? And does that seem reasonable, sustainable? Does that feel Beanie Baby bubbly? I think we talked about Beanie Babies a little bit last live stream. So yeah, what are your thoughts on all that?
I guess surprise. It's just, I don't know a ton about it, and the fact that it went did or did. No, I never expected it to do what it's doing. As far as what it does from here on out, it's. You guys all know more than I do about it, and most of you don't understand it. So
we think we know more, but we actually don't know.
Right,
I know that we really don't know more. We're guessing a lot of it, but we know about the creatures and the sets, and we know about the 10 rates, but ultimately, like whether it will go up or down, or to what extent it will go up or down, I think some people, like some laymen, some people who just have no knowledge of the Pokemon space, they might know more than people who think they are experts in the space that think that have only been proven right by everything going up. And at some point they'll have a rude awakening. I don't know when, but it's a little scary how overconfident some people are getting for sure. Appreciate you, Ditto Faction, for shooting some questions. I'll delete them as I go, I guess, so I don't do it again. This is a good one, actually, because this is relevant to something that's taking place soon. For Dan, when's the last time you openly reached out to your dad for guidance on something? I guess it's not really guidance, more like help on something. But if it's too personal, please omit. I'm an open book for the most part. I pretty much share everything. But I'm consulting with my dad, and I'm utilizing his labor and expertise and all that stuff on a warehouse build. I've been teasing it for the past several months at this point, but I'm currently demoing an old garage that will be in the next few months, hopefully, a Pokemon warehouse built from the ground up. So yeah, I as far as help with fixing something that breaks or whatever it may be, it's a frequent thing. And then actively, we went out to dinner earlier tonight, had a nice little family meal. I'm like the tech guy. I think I mentioned this last year too. I'm updating my mom's phone and got my dad a new laptop and getting those things all copied over and set. So he's definitely the mechanic and the contractor and the fabricator and the HVAC guy and all those things, consulting on those things. And then I'm the guy when it comes to tech type stuff, and I guess Pokemon investment choices. I'm that guy too.
Yeah.
Here's a good one too. So again from Ditto Faction, this time directly to you. I'm answering too much of everything. Let's get my dad to talk. So last time you mentioned a few awkward moments when talking about your son's choice of business ventures, like some people being like, "Oh, that's too bad," hearing that your son went from an engineer to a Pokemon seller. So do you openly talk about investing in Pokemon yourself to your friends? And yeah, a little bit of conversation on that.
Yeah, I tell people all the time. I talk about it all the time with my friends and stuff. And actually, a friend of mine just invested 5,000. Just started investing because he's been hearing me talk about it for the last 2 years. And obviously, to him, it sounds he wishes he had bought a pallet 2 years ago, but he just bought his first $5,000 worth. And Dan was already saying it's already starting to do a little something. So.
And you hear that? He said his first $5,000 worth.
Yeah.
His buddy actually said, "Hey Dan, I'm thinking about." He hit me with 10K was like his number of what he wanted to put in. Me being the dummy bear that I am, too bearish on the hobby. I'm like, you know what? Maybe we ease in with $5,000, see how it feels, see how it goes, and then we go $5,000 deeper a few months down the line. And naturally, so I bought for him 300, if I remember correctly, I think it's 360 packs of Prismatic Evolutions, and then 140 packs of Ascended Heroes. It just so happened that he reached out and he was looking to buy a week where I was paying $10 each for both packs at the time. Let me share my screen to my buy list on catchemallcollectibles.com. You can find that updated every Monday. I'm always buying packs. But as we speak, I'm buying Ascended Heroes on my hot buy list at $12 a pack. So I sold them to him at $10 a pack, and I'm now buying them for 20% higher than I sold them to him at. And Prismatic Evolutions, I'm buying at $10.91 a pack, so not quite, like 10% over. But his $5,000 investment is all, and it could have been $10,000. I could have, as his Pokey financial advisor, I could have chosen to deploy the full 10K. But me being the bearish, stupid guy that I am, I'll have to apologize to Tony and maybe buy him a beer or something. But I only deployed 5K that is now worth 5,700 or something. Absolutely crazy what this market is doing. I still fully believe, especially less so on Prismatic, I fully believe that Ascended Heroes will be available for cheaper later this year. But who knows? I might be wrong. But yeah, if you thought it was a top signal 2 years ago when my dad started investing in Pokemon, now my dad's friends are investing in Pokemon. So watch out. At some point, one of these top signals will actually turn the market. But I gave him all the disclaimers. I told him this $5,000 in a year could be 10 grand, 20 grand. It could be $1,000. It is all at risk, on risk. But has he followed up with you much since? Because I physically.
No, we just got him the box one.
Yeah.
Not that long ago. He hasn't said anything yet. He hasn't asked any questions, but if he watches this, he'll ask or say something. If I want to sell back to you.
Yeah. It's funny because he's going to be involved in the warehouse build as well. He's like an HVAC guy, and my dad actually works with him on occasion. So he's like, "Oh, hey, like, let me know when you want me to get you the cash or whatever." And I'm like, "I'm gonna need your services. I'm gonna need some HVAC in my warehouse, and I'd imagine that it will be at least that much money. I don't really know, but I would think furnace, AC, ductwork, labor, all that stuff. I think I'm gonna owe him more. So I just said, like, he's taken the product and not paid for it. So he's like he's up 15% without having paid, which is a great spot to be in. I mean, maybe he'll want to cash out, and I would. Like, I mean, I'm actively buying this stuff. It's on my hot buy list, Ascended especially. So maybe he'll just maybe he'll cash out up nearly 20% after a month of not even having paid, or maybe he'll let it ride, let it roll, and it'll be worth $500,000 in 10 years. Who knows? But yeah, has there been anybody else aside from him who thought about actually emulating, imitating?
No. One friend that works with me on some Saturdays and stuff, I told him about the first pallet. He told me we should sell it. He's ready. He's in the stock market and stuff and other investing. And he goes, "Oh, it's how you got to sell it. It's time to sell it." I said, "No, we're not selling it yet." So he never said nothing about buying. Not that he would. I wouldn't try to. I don't try to sell to anybody.
Yeah, I mean, I guess aside from you, I am, and this is a question that commonly came up on the last episode. It was actually one of the questions. I didn't even put it on here from Ditto Faction, and I another person in Instagram DMs asked this question too, but they're like, "Hey, does Dad have any say towards what you guys invest in? Does Dad have any pushback at any time on any of the things that you decide to buy?" That's not how this arrangement works. I am deemed the Pokemon fund manager and expert and all that stuff. Maybe I mean, honestly, throwing a dart at a dartboard, on average, maybe you would have outperformed what we did 4x on pallet 1 in the past 2 years. So maybe we would be better if he was picking. But unfortunately, we're in the spot where I've been picking, and I've only 4x'd our money from 2 years ago. But yeah, that was one of the most common questions last year. I've already seen it multiple times. So if and when someone asks, is Dad involved in picking anything, it's fully me. What are you drinking? So I have a couple different things, but I'm starting with a Sloop Brewing Company Juice Bomb Hazy IPA. And my dad's got some
Something was in Dan's fridge.
so random thing in my fridge. It's almost like a high noon type deal, but it's just something else specifically. I don't know what. Surfside. And then for later, I've got a hazy little thing. I almost went with a hazy big thing or big little thing, whatever they call it. But hazy little thing's like a 6.5% IPA. Big little thing is like a 9.5%. That's like the Juice Forces, which I think I drank last year. Going a little bit easier tonight. Let's see. Nice to see you, Obi-Wan Kenobi. Bierski wants to know, John Deere or Kubota? The answer will surprise you.
Neither. New Holland.
We run blue around here. So this question I think was asked before I was talking about the HVAC guy. Humidity and temperature control will definitely be where I live. I have a dehumidifier in my office as we speak. It barely ever runs. I will be monitoring. Pokemon cards don't love massive swings in temperature. The warehouse will be held between 65 and 70 degrees year round, and it will be held probably between 40 and 60% relative humidity or something along those lines. Air conditioners do like inherently have some humidity control. They pull the humidity out of the air, and I guess furnaces do dry it out a bit too. Maybe I'd run less percentage than that in the winter, but I will be monitoring that if and when I deem it necessary. I guess I could add humidifier, dehumidifier down the line.
Yeah, the AC, either one, just because of the type of building we're building, it's not going to need a lot of. There won't be a lot of AC running, just because it's not going to have a lot of windows or a lot of doors and stuff. It's going to be a fairly tight building.
Yep.
Within read, you want to breathe a little bit too. So, but it won't run a ton of AC. So I'm not sure if the humidity probably won't come into play.
Yeah, it'll be a brand new build, so it shouldn't be too bad as far as HVAC costs. Spat. So this is one of the guys coming up next week. He says, "Papa Buckets, your son is a great man." This live is gonna hit so hard while packing. So Spat, I'm not gonna. I'll never share someone else's numbers, but Spat had his first week functionally full time this past week. First full week, Wednesday to Wednesday on eBay. I get my payouts every Wednesday on. I had to screenshot and shoot him a DM of his inbound payout because Spat crushed over the last week. Absolutely crazy numbers. Very bullish on Spat. So I titled it, "My Dad Has More Pokemon Than Your Dad." Kai, this is my Australian friend Kai. He says, "My dad has way more Pokemon." Honestly, having gotten some DMs from some of you guys and gals over the past year, my title might be clickbait. My title might be incorrect because there's some whales out there. And again, I don't want to share someone else's information, but I've had some people messaging me the journey that they've undertaken with their family member or whoever, and I'm not the only one who's gotten my dad into investing in Pokemon. I'm going to start some more questions, and then I'll go back. My dad has more Ascended Heroes pins than yours. The brews will be flowing for sure. We got an HVAC tech in the chat. I'll owe him way more. Yes. Maybe I'll get some slight discount due to my semi-expert financial advice for him.
Only paying half labor because I'll be one of the guys working there.
Yeah. We got a Massey Ferguson fan in here.
That'd be maybe second pick because that's my nephew sells New Holland and Massey Ferguson.
Yeah.
How tall am I?
Do we think we will ever see a day where Pokemon loses its hype? What's your thought on that?
I would guess it can't keep going. Well, it'd be nice if it keeps going like this, but it doesn't seem like it's sustainable. I wouldn't think forever.
Can you think of any, like Papa and Grandma collect some different things. Can you think of any, like you're not much of a collector really.
Some coins.
But can you think of any collectible you've seen over the years that like fell out of favor, and if and what is similar between those and Pokemon? And then I'll give the bullish pushback on why Pokemon can never fail. That everyone wants to hear.
What was the Beanie Babies thing? I think my mother bought some Beanie Babies, and there was
Mom had some too. We had
Barbie dolls.
We had all the McDonald's
so there was
ones.
There was McDonald's stuff, and people got heavy into cars and stuff. I think I got a little crazy on what people were paying for cars for a while. I think that's going the other way now. Maybe during like COVID and stuff, I think cars got to be, there was some big money going in the cars and stuff. So
yeah, and I'm in coins to some extent. I've collected and I have some behind me. Breweriana. I've collected video games to some extent. I've collected a lot of different things. I think I have the collector gene for sure. I think of like my grandparents have. Grandma has some of those like dolls, some of those different precious moments or whatever they are. Yeah. Papa has some of the small cars, like
just like model cars,
die-cast cars or whatever. Nothing. And I know if you watch like reserved investments, there's trains and all different kinds of old things, old glassware. And I'll say this from the angle of you can see all the little Schultz and Dooley things, Schultz and Dooley Stein behind my dad. When I go to a brewery club meeting, and yes, that's a thing, we go, we hang out at the brewery, we have a couple beers, and we talk about our favorite collectible mugs and trays and everything. I'm 36. The average age, the median age is 75. The average age is probably also 75. There's 60, 70, and 80-year-olds in there. There's only a couple people sub 40, and maybe there's a couple people in their 40s and 50s. Whereas with Pokemon, you've got Gary, you've got everyone knows for the most part, I think, Gary, King Charizard. And then you've got a lot of people our age who were around 4th, 5th grade, like the target demographic when Pokemon came out in 99 to the US. And then like my wife teaches every year. It seems like she's got more kids into Pokemon. My kids are very into Pokemon. The little Quaxleys running around playing Pokopia and playing the new games and engaging with and getting to know and love your Quaxleys, your Sprigatitos, your Fuecocos. Next generation will be your Brout, your Gekwa, and your Pombon. Like and if you want to tie it to sports too, it's not live right now, but over there I do have a TV. We will in the background have the hockey game on. With hockey, it's like you do grow up loving a team, but your heroes kind of like move on. Like back in the day, and this will tie into a question somebody else asked. Back in the day, I was born into Jeff Gordon fandom. Well, Jeff Gordon doesn't race anymore, right? He had teammates. He had Terry Labonte and he had Jimmy Johnson, and so I guess you could Hendrick Motorsports. You could follow that team, and then there will be new drivers there. Kyle Busch and whoever else came up through Hendrick Motorsports later on. But with Pokemon, it's like Pikachu, at least for now, has always been there. Will they ever retire Pokemon? Who knows? They did retire Ash to some extent, right? He finally won and he finally moved on, and now it's someone else. But Pokemon is multi-generational to an extent that I don't know if anything can replicate that. On a long enough timeline, can some other IP be created that can replicate that? Absolutely. But does anything and can anything, has anything else replicated that in the past 100 years in collectibles? I don't think so. So I've always said like short plastic, long cardboard. I think in the short term, even with the pallets, with graded cards, I think there's a lot of irrationality in the hobby. But I also am very bullish on it's just an amazing IP. I love all these creatures and trainers and all these different interactions and the memories. And so I forget what the original question even was at this point. I've been ranting for so long. But yeah, I truly am bullish on the very, very long term. I don't know. Oh, this one. So yeah, do we think we ever see a day where Pokemon loses its hype? So like, honestly, I truly believe it when I say this. Even though I think certain things could fall 50%, 60%, I think some things need to, and I think they will in the coming years. I think Pokemon will outlive me. I think it will be as big, if not bigger, in 50 or 60 years, hopefully. So there will be a day on a long enough timeline, but I don't think I see it personally. Now, some of that's how you define hype too. The madness, the insanity, the irrational exuberance we live in today, yes, I will see that end. But do I think it will go back to 2003 level darkness where base set boxes were $30 and not selling? I don't think so. There was a long one there. But talking about the sports team. So Greeny, Daddy Ketchum, what New York sports team do you regret getting Dan into because they blow? So I talked about Jeff Gordon. Yeah, you want to talk sports?
Well, it'll be the Rangers, I guess.
We've
seen them pretty good though, but they haven't been.
They've been good in the time that we've gone. Our record going to their games exceeds vastly what the records were in the years that we went.
And we went to a playoff game, so they were pretty good that year.
But honestly, like I don't know if I'm proud to say this or ashamed to say this or what, but I picked the Jets and the Mets myself. I don't know how exactly. I don't know why. Because you guys weren't big football, basketball, baseball fans growing up. Like I was born into a championship household. I mean, I saw Jeff Gordon win. He won 4, I think, and then Jimmy Johnson won like 8. So the main sport that I inherited, I don't really watch it myself anymore these days. And I don't know. I think you're stretching the term sport to go to call it that, but no, it's interesting, but it's nothing like hockey or football or baseball, basketball. But yeah, I was born into Jeff Gordon fandom, and that was a very fruitful fandom for the years that I was watching because Jeff Gordon and Jimmy Johnson were doing well the whole time. Sadly, I chose the Jets and the Mets myself, and I think I got them into them to some extent because we used to go to Jets game. How many years in a row did we go to a Jets game? 5 years, maybe? I think we saw them win 3 or 4 times in a row. Then we saw them get beat by the Niners, like 31-0 or 34-0.
The Steelers beat them.
Then we watched the Steelers beat them. I remember.
Our friends that were big Steelers fans.
I was hammered, and I lost my voice yelling it. I remember the Steelers were 0-4. So as the Jets were losing, I was just yelling 0-4, and then the Jets they weren't 0-5 because they won that game. They went to 1-4, and the Steelers that year went on to make the playoffs and I think go kind of far. And the Jets were the Jets and didn't do anything. Yeah. He also wants to know, how tall are you? I'm 6'4".
5'9" and a half ish.
Which I think your grandpa, right, was very tall.
Yeah, 6. He was 6'2" or something.
Yeah. So it kind of came out of nowhere. It came from a ways up. Bro is not a Jets fan and went to 5 games. He loves you unconditionally.
I wasn't a huge fan, but it was fun.
I like Dan more when he talks about NASCAR. I didn't know I could like homie more than I already did. What a G. So I don't watch these days, but back in the day. So again, he mentioned that my cousin owns a New Holland dealership. Basically, through that, we used to actually be able to go and get like VIP. We used to be able to go back in the pits. We got to go to like the suite level basically at Watkins Glen, and just food and drinks while we were there. Walk back through the pits, and that used to be really cool. And I'll say that, like, I can't watch NASCAR on TV like I could 25 years ago, but I would still have fun going to a race. I haven't gone in a long time, but couldn't watch it on TV. But if I had the opportunity to go to a race, you would not believe how loud the cars are, and it's cool being there. And yeah, that was wild. We were actually, you guys were here the night that happened. I had my parents, grandparents, sister over for a meal, and we were just chatting, and one of them saw it on their phone, and yeah, that was unexpected kind of wild news. I'm starting a lot more questions. Yeah, I call my grandpa Papa and Grandma. I know everyone has different vocabularies for that. I think we asked this last time too. Do you have a favorite Pokemon? do you still remember? A year ago you got this right. Who's this one? Let's see if he remembers a year later.
No, I don't.
A year ago you got it. You know that one. He's like the one.
The one. It's bad.
So seemingly he doesn't have a favorite Pokemon. You know.
I don't have a good memory neither. Not for that.
You know this one. Can you see it behind my chair?
Pikachu. Yeah.
He knows Pikachu. Last year you got that one, so he's
I probably know it. I'll come up. I'll Google it.
He's losing his Pokemon knowledge.
Yeah.
As his Pokemon palette investment gains go up, his knowledge goes down. Let's see. I'm going to take some more starred questions. My dad owns 0 Pokemon cards. Is my dad a loser? Basic wants to know.
I have no idea.
What does he own? I mean, what's he invested in? It is Basic. So Basic, my dad is very familiar with my involvement in MetaZoo, and Basic actually used to be a big player of MetaZoo. Basic, don't tell us that he invested in pallets of MetaZoo like we did, because little does everyone know, I the videos are still out there, the receipts are still out there, but I haven't talked about it much. How many pallets? 6? I think we have 6 pallets of MetaZoo. Had all that money gone into Pokemon, we'd be substantially further ahead than we were. What do you have? You have 4.
We have 4.
Well, you have 4.
Well, you have some here.
I've got like an 8-foot tall one in my garage, which is basically 2.
We bought 3 and saved a third of each of that, and then you took the other ones to sell, and then we bought 3 more pallets of each thing.
Yeah.
So I have 4. There's 4 at my garage.
Yeah. So Basic. Hopefully he did not invest by the pallet in MetaZoo, but
we don't have a lot of that much invested in that.
No, and dollar wise, it was crazy. We didn't even buy at the bottom either. I think we paid $3,000 a pallet for those, or $3,500 maybe. Yeah. And man, I don't know if anyone saw the eBay auctions, but they auctioned some local pickup only. So you would have had to add $800 to. They said local pickup only, and they said they wouldn't even facilitate. Like if I wanted to set up freight, they wouldn't even facilitate that. So I would have had to fly down and drive a U-Haul back or whatever. But those auctions went for like $1,000. So we could have had more pallets for like $2,000 each probably. Hey fellas, as someone who hasn't had his pops in his life, but luckily had a great mom, what was the one piece of advice you would give a young 35-year-old such as myself? That's from Obi-Wan Kenobi.
I think so. There was a question like that last time. I just more be responsible. Just get up just be responsible for your actions, and think about your actions, your consequences and stuff, and get up every day and try to do a little bit better than the day before. And if something goes wrong, just take responsibility for it and move on.
I'll echo that. Like one thing that I rant on a lot on this channel is like personal responsibility. Too many people in life try to make themselves a victim of everything. And some people are truly victims of circumstance. They have massive health situations. They survived some form of abuse or whatever growing up, and whatever it may be. There are definitely people that are, I'm not saying there's no such thing as victims, but some people try to go out of their way to make themselves into victims over things that it's like, what was there was a quote. I was listening to Iced Coffee Hour podcast recently, and I forget who the guest even was, but they had a really good quote where whatever situation you're in, it's not your fault, but it's your responsibility. Like even if you were or are the victim of something, or something doesn't go the way that you want it to go, it's not your fault, but it's your responsibility. No one else is gonna like watch out for you the way that you should be and need to be for yourself. So yeah, I think that's just very broad advice that could fit for anyone. Most of your outcome will be to your individual choices and actions, and a lot of people just get way too tied up into who's in the White House, who's this, that, and just things that don't affect them as directly as they believe they do.
One of my most favorite quotes is Henry Ford, and it's whether you think you can or you think you can't, you're right.
Mm-hmm.
That's probably my favorite quote of anything.
And it was a couple years ago too, and I man, if I had a couple more IPAs in me, I would probably go crazy down this rabbit hole. But like when I hear people in today's day and age saying like the American dream is dead, like I'm out here hanging out with a bunch of friends and people in the space, talking through this little camera to people all around the world, buying cards, selling cards, people all around the world. A lot of my closest friends in the space quit their jobs and we're working together. Like, and people they'll harken back to the whatever time they'll say that this was better and this was better, and they'll ignore all the things that were worse. People will look back. The American dream was more alive during the 50s or 80s, whatever the time frame is, because of XYZ, because of salary, because of, well, things are different. I can't say they're universally better in every way, but if I had to choose between being born in 1990 when I was, or being born back in 1950 or 1930 or whatever you think the perfect year was, it might not be universally better in every way, but it is pretty close to that. If people actually think about what's going on and think about what they have for opportunities in their lives, it is unbelievable what somebody can do if they choose to grind, work every day, and not just sit back and say everything is broken, I'm not going to do anything, I'm going to wait for somebody to fix it for me, because it's not fully optimal. Maybe it's sad how many people just have the defeatist attitude. Yes, we did used to say this all the time. When you're barber, when you're HVAC technician, when your dad starts hitting you up for investment advice into what Pokemon to buy, that's formally what we used to deem as the top signal. But we did it, and we 4x from there. So where and when is the true top? Nobody knows. Krabby's Cards, Mr. Dan's dad, how far will you take this? 10 pallets, 20 pallets. When will it end?
I don't know. We're already up. We'll probably keep going like we're going, which actually went faster than I thought. We'd be like 1 pallet a year. And I think we just started after 2 years. We're 2 years in, and we're started building number 5. So 10, I see 10 pallets,
and
I can see 10 or 20 pallets. Yeah.
And then I'm building a new warehouse. He just substantially added warehouse space to his setup as well. So we don't have space or volume holding us back at all anymore moving ahead. It just becomes a question of how much capital do we want to deploy into this. And I think like the original experiment was always 2030, forced hold till 2030, reevaluate. I guess that's what we'll do still. A lot could happen in 4 years. Even though everyone says it can only go up in XYZ, a lot can happen between now and then. We'll get there. We'll see what's going on. And one idea that I've had is maybe we take pallet 1, which by then, what's it going to be worth? $1 million? Is it going to 4x again? And it's 4x in 2 years. If it 4x's in 2 years again, it's $1 million in 2028. And then if it 4x's again, it's $4 million in 2030. Call me bearish, which I know you guys will. I don't think pallet 1 will be $4 million in 2030. but it also could be. If it is, my take would be sell half, $2 million, 1.7 million after fees and whatever, and then build 5 pallets with half of pallet 1. Build, I don't know. That's the tentative plan, but like we'll reevaluate.
My thought was maybe eventually take the initial investment out of each pallet. So like we got the second or the first pallet's a little over 200. We got 50 into it. So say at year 5, we take the initial investment out, whatever that would be. Maybe by then it would only be a tenth of it. Then you slowly do that every year, and then not necessarily just take that money and spend it or whatever. Take that money and start using that money to build the next pallet. So the pallets start building pallets. Then I guess it just keeps going like it is. Yeah, it'd be easy to say there's no end to it. It could be 100 pallets, but you have to build another warehouse after this one. But I just built a 40 by 40 garage on my house. It's already got a garage and a shop that's already over 3,000 square feet that I don't use as much anymore. So we got plenty of room, and we could rent some space if it got real crazy.
Yeah, and I'm going to be building a 40 by 30. I probably, for the most part, I'll probably do most of my recording, most of my lives in here, but at some point I'll probably do a little bit of content from within the warehouse just to kind of show the new setup. My office where I'm set up right now, very messy, things everywhere. Having the warehouse, the office will mainly be singles and slabs, and then the warehouse will be sealed, which is the vast majority of what I have. So getting all the random sealed out of here, cleaning up what's left in here because a lot of it will leave. Maybe I will have the ability to do a little bit more content in both. But I've mentioned it many times before. What you see here is a very curated view, and in every other direction is this is kind of cluttered and messy with all the various collectibles, but it's really messy out there. This is a good one. Dan, why did you let your dad buy in? Why not keep it all for yourself? So the pallets aren't all that I have. The pallets are, I can't even think of what portion of what I have they would be. But everyone's cash flow is limited. My limited cash flow today is significantly less limited than it was 5 years ago, 10 years ago, 12 years ago. But it's still limited. So what I have is more than it would be if he wasn't teaming up with me and adding some of his own capital, right? So not that it really goes this way. A lot of people think Pokemon, the more money you have, the better, the lower prices you can get. It doesn't really work that way. A lot of times if you're trying to buy crazy volume, you actually have to like pay a little bit more of a premium to get extra stuff. But yeah, that's the real answer is like my funds are high, but not unlimited. And it's just a fun little experiment. It's a fun endeavor. And I do have a lot of stuff that like isn't on the pallets that I'm engaging with separately too. But most of what I have that's not on the pallets is more for sale. The other stuff, and going back over my history, 12 years I've been here, I had cases of Phantom Forces. I had cases of Flashfire. I had cases I bought 12 years ago for $500 a case. They're $60,000 cases today. They're $50,000 cases today, some of them. So the entire genesis of this was like, let me bring someone else in and let's just see what happens. Let's transport some of this stuff 10, 12, 20 years into the future. Everyone all the time says, I'm investing for 5, 10, 20, however many years. They just make up a number and they say it with no ability or desire or actual plan to hold that long. But if you had asked me 12 years ago, Dan, how long are you going to hold that Phantom Forces case? Dan, how long are you going to hold that Primal Clash and Roaring Skies? And I probably would have said 5 or 10 years. I sold it 5 or 10 months later or 2 or 3 years later. So, yeah, I tied him in to make the volume a bit bigger than it was going to be. I think building half a pallet each year would have been unsatisfactory. So I'm like, hey, if I team up with my dad, we can do a pallet every year. And then we've kind of done a little bit more than that as the prices have gone up too.
I think Dan knew I had a little bit, maybe some cash, just money that I wasn't wasn't. I'm not a big. I'm really not into the stock market hardly. My wife's retirement stuff's in the stock market. I'm real estate, some silver, my business, all that type of stuff. And then I just got where everything was kind of I own everything, and I was kind of having a little bit, some money in my checkbook and just some cash on hand. And Dan kind of pretty much knows my finances, and I think he was thinking at the same time, well, we got to start doing something with some of that, get me. And I'm glad we did. I'm glad we did.
That was definitely a big part of it too, because, and it's funny, like, I talked about this last year too. I didn't listen back to our whole live earlier today, but I did listen to the first hour of it. Between me, my dad, and my grandpa, Papa, we have a reasonable portfolio between all three of us. Look at any of us individually, and it's like, Papa, what are you doing? You have, I don't know his numbers as well as I know his numbers. I have vague ideas. I know what stocks he asked me. Hey, Dan, look up this, look up that. How's United Health doing? How's ConMed doing? How's this? So I have an idea, but he's very single stocks. And then my dad, as he said, silver, real estate, and now a little bit of cardboard. But I'm all index funds pretty much. Well, my non-Pokemon is all index funds. I'm more Pokemon than in the index funds still. But between the three of us, we have a more reasonable portfolio balance. So I guess a decent part of this too was like, I know roughly how many of these my dad had laying around in his safes and stuff. And it's like, that stuff is being eaten away every year to inflation. And I wouldn't have expected a 4X in 2 years, but I wouldn't have been shocked at Pokemon doubling. And watching, I've rewatched that palette. I don't rewatch many of my videos at all, but the palette video I've probably rewatched 3 times over the past 2 years. That first palette video, I've kind of rewatched it before each new video in the series I've made, and it blows my mind because it's like when I set out on that, people in the comments were saying, Dan, you're scamming your dad, you're selling him trash, it's gonna go down, you're pawning off your Scarlet and Violet bags on him. And I would have been, and I said this back then, I would have been happy if pallet 1 was worth $100,000 in 2030. Like, rewind, if we doubled our money in
5 years,
in like six years or so, because we started in 2024, like, neuralize everything we've done, forget everything. Yeah. If I was like, hey, it's worth $55,000, it's worth $60,000, and we had gotten to 100, if we doubled our money, that would have been like good, right? That would have been like a successful endeavor. And not only did we do that, but we did that in year 1, and then we did it again in year 2. I wouldn't have guessed it was possible to do it in either. And what's year 3 going to hold? Let us know in the chat. Let us know in the comments. It 2x year 1, it 2x year 2. What will it do year 3? It's very obvious. In next May, it will be obvious the pallet's worth 400 or 300 or 150 but I have no clue. I truly have no clue what it's going to be worth.
And if it only went up maybe 10 or 15%, maybe we'd have 3 pallets now instead of 4. What Dan's quantity, he's just growing. His business is growing so fast that building a pallet now is only a small amount of what he's handling, weekly or monthly or yearly or whatever. So the amount we got on 4 pallets right now would have been maybe his whole year a few years ago. Mm-hmm. So that makes a big difference too. I can still do quite a few more pallets, especially doing a few a year and stuff. So it's not a crazy amount of money. I've got money set aside, and I've got some money. I got some I-bonds and stuff that probably aren't doing great that could be turned into Pokemon if it keeps going. But it'll be kind of see how it'll based on kind of how his business is doing and how he's once we get this warehouse built, and if he's just doing more and more and more quantity, I can just see more stuff ending up on another pallet. And so hard to say. It's definitely a lot farther ahead than if you said 2 years ago. I thought maybe we'd have 2 pallets right now. So like I say, we're building number 5. We're starting to, I guess. Oh, and
Obi-Wan Kenobi corrected me. I think I said Jimmy Johnson won 8, but I guess isn't it Richard Petty won 7?
I think he got 7. Gordon got 4.
I'm testing my NASCAR lore. Didn't Petty and Earnhardt both win 7? And then Jimmy matched them at 7? For some reason, I thought Jimmy beat them with 8. But Let's look up most NASCAR championships. I want to say both Petty and Earnhardt. Petty Earnhardt, I was correct. Petty and Earnhardt both won 7. For some reason, I was thinking Jimmy had won 8, but he won 7 as well. And then Gordon is second or fourth, depending on how you want to consider it. But he's second after the 3-way tie for first with 4 championships. Starting more questions as we go. I just had one. Oh yeah, this one. This one ties in well. If after year 1, pallet 1 was flat, so hindsight, we know pallet 1 was $100K after year 1. We 2x'd our money, and then it's like we doubled our money, go all in. If it was worth 50K, or say it was worth 30K, say it went down 40%, would you have gone into pallet 2, and or like how would that change what you're doing right now, if at all?
I think we would have still built. Might not have built 3 more pallets, but I think we would have still built at least another pallet. I think I talked to, there was a question, I think, in the first one where, like, I was kind of, it's like, you guys seem pretty happy this thing it doubled in 1 year and this and that. And I said, well, we'd probably still be talking and doing all right even if it didn't make money, because it's not money. We're not investing money that needs to be going into a car payment or mortgage, or it's money that, we could afford to lose, because you can. I mean, when we still could lose it. Next year we could be talking about pallet 1 being worth 50 grand again, or whatever. But obviously, it's more fun when you're making money.
Yeah,
if that's what the plan was, but to do what it's doing. And I talk to people. I talked to a guy today. He asked me, a friend of mine. He's in his mid 80s, and he asked me how it was doing, because he watched the whole first video. And I told him what pallet 1 did, and he just was like, this is goofy. This doesn't make any sense. And I said, I know, but a couple of people think it's worth what it's worth, and that's all it takes for certain things. So, and a lot more than a couple of people think it's worth that. So thousands of people think it's worth that, I guess.
And I see more people asking. We already answered this, but Dad's favorite Pokemon. He knows Pikachu. He doesn't know too many others. Dad's favorite set. Let's see if he remembers. He's thinking. I'm not. A year ago, he got that one.
I know that's true. But I'll forget things. Actually, if you ask me a question about something I work on, so it's not.
But yeah,
I don't know anymore. I know how many pallets we own. And in my head, I know roughly what we've invested. One thing I'm good at, if I owe money or somebody owes me money or whatever, numbers I'm pretty good with. I know where we got into pallet 1. I know roughly. Once Dan tells me that once, I kind of just so in my head, I need to know stuff like that to remember, or like debt or anything. I know if there's something I owe or. But as far as I don't know any more about Pokemon right now than I did 2 years ago, probably.
Yeah, I see a lot of questions about favorite set to open. We did open a little bit of Prismatic.
Some stuff.
I didn't even prepare anything for tonight. We probably won't rip anything. I only have my Alt Art MetaZoo boxes behind me, and I don't think anyone wants a MetaZoo opening. Except Basic. Those boxes, with how poorly MetaZoo is doing, those boxes are still several hundred, if not over 1,000 each. Those are like the special chase ones. We got some funny questions I'm definitely not taking in the comments, but I appreciate everyone. Question: 20-year hold, SpaceX or Pokemon? I mean, for me, it's easy, Pokemon, and then I'm going investment or index funds. But I guess you could share your answer as well.
What's that?
20-year hold, SpaceX or Pokemon? I mean, talk versus walk. He doesn't hold stocks. He holds pallets of Pokemon.
I'm going to stay.
So, yeah
Pokemon.
Easy answer. Basic elaborates on how his dad's a loser, only investing in real estate and retirement funds. There's a lot to be said about, and I know it's kind of ironic that I'm going to say this. There's a lot to be said about only investing in things that you know. I say this while I'm sitting next to my dad, who's investing in Pokemon. That he can't name this one, but I'm investing in Dan. He knows that he trusts and believes in me, so he doesn't know the product. But if you want to look at it this way, and I think this is a very fair way to do it, I launched a private fund of some extent, and he has exclusive access to it. and he's investing in his son's private fund, essentially. If the SEC's out there listening, maybe some of that verbiage is wrong, and I shouldn't say that way. But yeah, so he's the fund is holding things that he doesn't know about, but he knows the fund manager, and he's investing in me. He's investing in my knowledge, my experience, my expertise, and one advantage that he inherently has. And this is one thing I talk about a lot with Pokemon too. I'm all for stocks. Let me show the buckets I have. I don't know how we're this far in, and I haven't showed the buckets yet. But I'm all for 401ks and IRAs and paying off debt, all that good stuff out there. The big thing about SpaceX or Apple or VTSAX or VU or whatever fund, whatever stock, whatever thing, gold, silver, if you want to buy those things, you have to buy at 100.1%. You have to buy at the ask, and you have to sell at the bid. You have to buy here and sell here. In Pokemon, in a collectible, in an item like this, I have a built-in advantage that I can buy at 80, 85, 90% of market. I can buy it at a discount day one without the underlying asset moving. I can turn around and sell it and make money. That's literally what my whole job is: buying wholesale, selling retail, buying wholesale, selling retail. And some people have this. Imagine a world where you could buy Apple at a 10% discount. Some people can through employee stock options and things of that nature. But imagine a world where you could buy a stock at a 10, 15, 20% discount. And then sometimes sell it for a 10% premium. Sometimes we talk so much negative about the frictional fees in Pokemon, as I believe we should, but we don't talk about the benefits that provides to the businesses in the space, because it kind of is a con, but it's also a pro. In that, I even though some people have to sell at 80%, I'm the one buying at that, and I'm frequently selling between 95 and 110% of market. So yeah, there's some give and take on that. Some negative, some positive. But yeah, your dad is investing in what he knows and understands, and
yeah, he's probably done pretty well in the real estate. I know there's other investments, but I'm sure if he's got some money in real estate over the last few years, he's had to have done pretty good.
And Krabby's card says his favorite Pokemon is whichever one makes him the most money. Fair. I mean, and it's funny because looking at the pallets, our best performer across all the pallets, 151. So I think it's like, this is the Pokemon that should be your favorite. It's most people's favorite. I guess I'll spoil it because I don't know if it's gonna come to you. You want me to spoil it or don't spoil it?
No.
Will it come to you?
Yeah, it's Charizard.
Did you look it up?
Yeah.
You looked it up.
I cheated. And as soon as I see the name, that's why it's
last year you got it without cheating too.
Yeah,
you got
we
it.
were probably talking about it.
But honestly,
5 minutes before.
I don't know if Java's out there listening, but if Java's out there listening, he'll like that answer. That should be your favorite Pokemon because he's doing the heavy lifting on our pallets for sure. He's the main guy in 151. He's present in some of these other ones too. Charizard UPC case is one of our better performers. So Charizard's a good favorite to have. And again, he's opened some MetaZoo. I'm assuming you don't have a favorite MetaZoo card though, do you?
I don't know. I know.
Bigfoot?
I know one or two less cards in MetaZoo than I do Pokemon. I own a lot more Pokemon.
Here's a good question. Here's a really good one. Appreciate you, Greenie, for being here. Papa Ketchum, after you cash in the pallets for a milli, you have to splurge on one thing to treat yourself. What are you buying?
I have a 66 Mustang convertible. I actually was thinking about this today, and I thought it would make a good video maybe on if pallet one hits $1 million and we do cash in some of that money, it would be the nicest Mustang convertible I could buy, older one, for like $100,000, and I think that'd make a pretty cool video. The title would be I bought my second Mustang with Pokemon, or Pokemon bought my second Mustang. But I actually thought about that today. It's funny.
And yeah, I mean, pallet one was originally $50K, and again, like in hindsight's very easy, very dangerous. But let me pull pallet one back up. So on pallet one, booster cases 2, 4, 8, 18, 25, 31, 46, 54, plus some ETB cases, plus some UPC cases, 54 booster box cases. Had we done a scattershot investment with XY era, like when I got into Pokemon, 25K would have been pushing it. So all I have today is snowballed from the same 5K that I put in originally. But we probably both could have scrounged up 25K each. Had we done this back in 2014, that would be $1 million pallet today, I'm pretty sure. 54 cases. The average case would have to be worth 20 grand to make that happen. You got your XY evolutions, which would only be 12K. You've got your I'm trying to think what the lowest performers would be. But like the worst performers would be in the 8, 10, 12K range probably from XY era. Then you'd have your $60,000 cases of Phantom Forces. And again, I say this so many times too, but when I got back into the hobby, everyone was saying, many people were saying, this stuff isn't going to be investable. Too many people are investing. They're printing too much. That was back when they were printing 3 billion cards a year. Now they're printing, they actually just announced it. They printed 10 billion cards last year. Over the last 4 years, they printed roughly 10 billion cards, 9.3 to 11.1 to 10 to 10. Pokemon last year signed a new lease, though. 1.3 million square feet of new print facilities coming online in the next couple of years. So 5-10 years from now, we might look back on today the way that 12 years ago we looked back on Black and White era, Diamond and Pearl, Heart Gold, Soul Silver, Platinum. And we might say, like, wow, we were only printing 10 billion cards a year then. And then in that future world, they might be printing 30 billion cards a year for all we know. Like I don't know what exactly it costs to build a 1.3 million square foot warehouse, but quick mental math and a couple Googles and industrial and then all the printers, and there's no way it's under $200 a square foot. $200 a square foot, that's $250 million infrastructure investment that Pokemon's making into printing more Pokemon cards. So like, again, that goes back into the whole short plastic, long cardboard. I am truly very bullish in the long term on cardboard. And barring this pallet endeavor, barring my dad physically taking the pallets off site for me, like I did 10, 12 years ago with Phantom Forces, with Ancient Origins, with Roaring Skies, with all these old sets, I probably would have sold all I had. All this stuff on pallet one, I probably would have liquidated most of this stuff if I wasn't forcing us to hold it together until 2030. We've essentially time capsuled this stuff. And many parts of me are probably going to want to sell it all if and when this is $1 million pallet in 2030. But I'm going to do my best to like only sell a quarter of it or half of it. And then like I've talked about this too, like maybe in 2030, we take pallet 1, pallet 2, and we make pallet 1A. We take half of pallet 1, half of pallet 2, Frankenstein them together, and then we sell off the rest and build X amount of pallets, and we take all our capital off and go on some big vacation, buy some big car, buy some whatever we desire at that point. But no idea. It'll be very interesting to see where this all goes, because it's already gone very different, very much further ahead than where I thought it would ever go, for sure. Zara Looking wants to know if you believe in Bigfoot on the MetaZoo.
No.
Sorry, Basic. Basic's going to be very sad to hear that. Have the MetaZoo losses negated all the Pokemon gains? So full disclosure, let me see if I have it here. MetaZoo pallets 1 to 4 did cost us $17,280. So they cost us $8,640 each. If I had to guess, I think we could liquidate them for something. I don't think we'd have to pay to take them to the dump and dispose of them. I think I can get someone to pay us $2-3 a booster box. Maybe I'm dreaming. Let me know. Somebody will let me know in the chat if I'm dreaming. But I think we've only lost 60% of our money on that. So 17 grand, lost 60%. We've lost like 10K on that in a time where pallet 1 alone has gained 150 grand. So I think we're doing fine.
Not even close.
Yeah. Reiko92 says, when your son told you to invest in Pokemon, did you think it was crazy at first, or did you have your doubts at all? And I'll just say, like, I didn't, Dad, you're investing in Pokemon, give me a ton of money, and we, like, I didn't coerce him into doing this against his will, but I was there talking about it, and I don't remember exactly how it all came about to be, but yeah. Any thoughts on that?
No, he didn't really try to sell me on the idea. I think we're just talking about obviously how Pokemon's doing, and I think we just decided, maybe we should start buying a little bit here and there. I don't know if it started out as being a pallet, if it started out just being a box or two here and there or whatever, and then we just decided on a pallet, and so it wasn't. He didn't tell me to invest. Yeah, he didn't tell me to invest in Pokemon. He told me to invest in Bitcoin when it was $8, and then when it went to $2, he told me to invest more. And I said, "I told you so." And then I should have probably bought. I should have probably invested when it went up to $2.
Oh, and I was a broke college kid at the time. I didn't put any money into it, but I was aware of it.
I could have put. That was how many years ago when you were in college? Yeah, I could have put a chunk in. I wouldn't. I'm not sure. I'd be sitting on an island right now somewhere if I put in what I could have put in.
But really,
I could have put. I mean, not that I would, but I mean, I could have. When it went to $2 a piece, I could have bought a pile of it.
You would have had to forget about it entirely, because
I just sold it at
$100
or sold some of it, or if you like the guy that lost it in the landfill and then found it.
It's very, very hard. But I've owned hundreds of Pokemon items that have 200x, but most of them I sold at 2x or 4x or 8x or 20x. It's very, very hard to hold anything and Bitcoin at 2 to Bitcoin where it peaked. We're not talking 10x, 20x, 100x. 2 to 120,000 wherever it peaked. That's a 60,000x. Not many people ever in the history of forever can say that they 60,000x'd anything. I'm trying to think of my biggest, craziest gains in Pokemon. I've definitely, man, what would they even be? I've definitely 10, 20, 30, 50x'd on a lot of things over the years. But even getting to 100x, there's a lot of things that have 100x in the past 12 years of Pokemon, but there's not lots of them that I held for that entire duration to see the full 100x myself. I'm trying to think of what it would be. There's probably a handful that I did that with, but that is by far the exception. What I hope to do though with these pallets is if and when any of these boxes become $10,000 boxes. Well, pallet 1, we were putting boxes on the pallet for under $100 a box. So we have the opportunity. If some of those go to $10,000 a box, we will be part of 100x.
I did have doubts too. I still
have doubts too.
Every investment I have, everything. I have doubts that things just keep going. Our economy can definitely change pretty rapidly.
And it's scary that some people don't have reservations or doubts to some extent. It's scary how irrationally exuberant, how bullish some people are, guaranteeing this and that. And here's another one too. What made you finally trust in Dan's Pokemon hobby job as an investment opportunity?
Oh, just seeing what it was doing. When he told me he was getting done working full time, he was making on the side in 6 months. He made what he was making a year as a chemical engineer, and just knowing that he was, he wasn't quitting his job and trying this and had a bunch of payments that he was just barely paying. And Dan's just always been real good with numbers, so he wasn't going to do anything. You got to take a risk. It's a risk. I guess everything you do, getting out of bed every day is a risk. But I definitely I trusted it as much as you could. I never thought it was going to do what it did. To say it was going to be, we're sitting on that first pallet and it's worth over $200,000. Our 4 pallets right now. I don't know if Dan said all the numbers, but we're not a crazy amount in. We're money in, but it's worth, I think it's worth about 3 times on all the pallets. I think we're like 3x or so on all of them.
Yeah, and I did mention that in the video. At the time of the video, and I think they're slightly up from then, but at the time of the video, pallets 1 through pallet 4, I guess adding a little bit, rounding up a little bit due to the MetaZoo having some minimal value, $750,000 is the value of all 4 pallets plus the 4 MetaZoo pallets, to round up that last $25.
I think
It's insane. We're
260 and
we're already a little bit underway on pallet 5. I don't have any of that filled out here yet, but I do have some things. Chaos Rising came out. There's 4 cases of Chaos Rising earmarked for that. 4 cases of Perfect Order earmarked for that. I don't have it physically being built yet. I will do that probably when the warehouse comes to be. But yeah, my garage is just an absolute nightmare right now. It's insane. Back in December, I made the biggest single buy that I've ever made in Pokemon. Back in December, I bought $100,000 collection. And it's like, this is nuts. I never thought this would have been a thing, and wearing all that money in one go. And then since December, I've bought like 6 collections exceeding that amount. It's absolutely insane. I have tomorrow, I'm meeting up on like a $30,000 something collection locally. And next week I have a $50,000 collection coming to me. The numbers are nuts. And some of these, every time a new pallet buy happens, every time a new collection buy happens, I earmark, ooh, like I really like this. I really like the future prospects of this. I really like the price point entry for pallet 5. So yeah, pallet 5 is already underway. But pallet 5 will probably happen to some extent to help pay for the warehouse. That's how much you owe me currently.
4,
so,
well, pallet 4s right now. I'm financing the start of the warehouse, a portion of it, because
I've got $5K towards the HVAC, and then I've got another balance towards the building. Towards the building, yeah, because he's going to
and he's not
facilitate most.
Yeah,
of that.
he's got a pretty good chunk paid. Like I said, I'm in the process of building a 40 by 40 on my house that I'm building, along with some friends that are all contractors and stuff. And I'm not sure what I'm in. I'll probably be in 100 by the time I'm completely done, but that's figuring a little bit for some labor and stuff like that too. This is a little bit smaller building, so I'm not sure exactly what it'll be, but my heating system's a little bit fancier. But
Kelly Sweeper says, any other consigners paying 95% on 1K plus sales for sealed? DC Sports no longer allowing lots. So there is, I do not use him anymore, but there is Voldemort. I will only call him by that name. He is the man who we do not name. There was basically like a consignment operation that I used to use last year. He created his own website. He leaked everyone's personal information. Absolute, like, built a scam of a website, doxed everyone's information. He was bidding on his own items, and like nothing happened. Like he was openly, publicly doing illegal things with objective, concrete proof that it happened, and nothing came of it. He left eBay, created his own platform. I talked about it. I signed up for it, and then he's just back on eBay now. Nobody cares. So I won't name him, but people still use him every day. I will never use him again. I spoke to him on the phone. He lied to my face through the phone. Like yeah, and not gonna use him anymore, but he's there. A lot of people use him. So Voldemort is there. DC Sports is there. Apparently you can't do lots anymore on DC Sports, which I didn't know. Arizona TCG, they pay out 93% on 1K, whereas Voldemort pays out 95%. How much are your morals worth? To me, like somebody doing something as bad as he did, like proven, documented, and facing no recourse for it, I'm like, my morals are worth more than 2%. So I'm happily consigning with Arizona TCG. I'm happily consigning with DC Sports. Also, he's been an MVP of the chat tonight. But the Green Shiz runs a consignment operation called Sealed Shiz Consignments, and he does not as high. Sub 1,000, he's very competitive. He's very solid. Above 1,000, I forget what his numbers are. Let me pull it up quick. I got to give him a good shout out because he's been hanging out here all night, and I do happily use him. I think he does. Greeny, you got something going on. Oh, there we go. Now it went. Here's a submission form. I don't know how to find his rates. Let me go to his Instagram quick. Oh, here it is. So above 1,000, Greeny does 89%. Above 5,000, he does 93%. So above 1,000, and he even mentioned this too. He's not super competitive above 1,000, but it's a few percent. It's not, especially above 5,000. It's only a few percent off, like Arizona TCG and DC Sports. But someday, I don't know when, I hope to be an option again at some point in the future. I hope to be able to pay 95% above 2,400 as I did a year and a half ago before Fanatics stopped doing it. Someday they're going to start doing it again. I just don't know when. That guy Jay says, if the print total is down, yet Prism was printed to the ground, doesn't that in a way mean it's likely that other sets the last 2 years were short printed by comparison? This falls into the category of like, it's just impossible to know. Everyone will have their theories and this and that. And as you can see by the walk, talk versus walk, as you can see by the walk, I just buy a little bit of everything because I truly don't know. A lot of people, with hindsight, with Monday morning quarterbacking, it's obvious you should have just bought this and bought that. And it's not as obvious in the day. It's not as obvious in the moment. A lot of people were so convinced that Twilight Masquerade was a dud set and it was bad and there was nothing in it, only a Greninja. Greninja can't carry a set. Twilight Masquerade is one of the most valuable sets in the Scarlet and Violet era. So I don't fall into too much of that stuff. I maybe to some extent I undervalue my ability to pick things, but I think most people significantly overvalue their opinion on being able to pick things. Can your dad tell my dad to invest in me?
I can tell.
Basics dad, we're talking to you. Invest in your son. He's a smart guy. Dan, is your oldest starting to fully understand the business yet? Could you see the Ketchum brand becoming a full family business? I've talked about this before, but as a parent, a thing that you're supposed to do, and one of my biggest goals in life is to help my son, help my daughter achieve their goals. I would love it. And I would be fine with it and maybe my dad can talk about it from this angle. But like, I could be living in a world where I didn't go to college to be a chemical engineer and spend a decade as a chemical engineer. I could have taken over his business, but he didn't like force me down that path. And son, you're going to take over the family business. I think this is something that some people do actually experience. He let me chase my dreams and do whatever I wanted to do. And if my kids decide that they're in the cardboard space and want to run a shop, and I would buy a shop and I would help them learn the ropes and learn how to run it. And so I've said before, like, I don't ever see myself owning an LGS, but if my son or my daughter turns 18 and I don't want to go to college, I want to run a TCG store. I will buy a store and I will help them. High levels of nepotism. It won't be an open application process. I will put them on the fast track if they show the ability and desire to actually do it and grind it out. Absolutely. I could see it becoming a family thing. But right now my kids are 5 and 7. We're a long ways out from that. They are formally on the payroll though. They are employees of the operation and not fully, but they're putting their full salary into Roth IRAs too. But yeah, any conversation on that from the perspective of
yeah, Dan could have been into welding, mechanic work and stuff. I have a shop right now that could be running 5-6 guys easy. And I didn't want to make it that big. And if Dan came along and wanted to do that, he could have. And then he probably would have, you'd wanted to have, like 5 or 6 or 8 or 10 techs working underneath him, or welders, mechanics, all that stuff. So, and then the grandkids, there's 4 grandkids. If one of them wanted to get into the trades or whatever, that'd be great. And I got a place where they'd have a leg up on that. They got a leg up, obviously, being in Pokemon and stuff too. Actually, the grandkids could come into my shop in 10 years and run it as a Pokemon shop or run it as a welding shop. So I actually have what you'd consider a storefront in a pretty good location that kind of just sits there and doesn't do a lot. Actually, the front of it would make a pretty good We've always talked about doing some barbecue and stuff too. So do some Pokemon barbecue events or something.
There'll be a barbecue food truck in the front. There'll be a Pokemon retail location in the physical shop, and then in the back, pull around the back, service your car, weld on a trailer hitch,
weld and repair it. We'll do some light welding.
Yeah, it'll be barbecue. And it's funny because like when Bierski came up a couple months ago at this point, there was a Pokemon cards. Well, it was a sports card and Pokemon card store. I think it was called Gideon Gallery in Syracuse. It was like a card store in the front, and then it was an antique and furniture store in the back. Sure. So it's like, I mean, there's exotic setups out there. So I think the world could use a Pokemon card shop in the front, and then full-fledged
barbecue joint with a little bit of welding in the corner if you need something, a quick repair while you're there. Quick repair, little welding jobs actually are great little. I mean, you can literally in 20 minutes to half an hour, I could do $100 repair while cooking or smoking a pig and probably waiting on a couple of people selling them some boxes of Pokemon. So you can do all in one day, all at the same time.
Basic said he clipped and sent that to his dad, so we'll see if it works. Have you told your dad the bear case? Greeny, you know who you're talking to here. Have you told your dad the bear case for possibly going to 0 if they 3x to 4x print capacity and reprint into the earth? How much disclaimers did I do on? And it was 50K joint, 50K combined on pallet 1. So like that first 25K that you put in, how many disclaimers did I give of what it could do, how much it could go down?
He guaranteed me the first pallet was going to 4x.
Oh no! Someone's gonna clip it.
And if it didn't, he was gonna cover the losses.
Someone's gonna clip it. Yeah, I'm very much known for disclaimer Dan, too bearish. I mean, I wish I had that level of I would say confidence, but I would cringe at the thought of saying that. Irrational exuberance would be the right word, but I wish I was half as confident as some of these people were. The cosplay investors that I call them on YouTube. If I was half as confident as some of these people were that guarantee this and guarantee that, if I could have guaranteed the pallet with 4x 2 years ago, I would have 99% of my net worth in this, and I'd be so much more rich for it. But that's just not the buckets and the 0 debt. And I paid off my 15-year I had a 15-year mortgage on this house. Because I'm risk averse and I didn't want to pay 30 years and blah, blah, blah. I had a 3% mortgage on this house, and I paid a 15-year mortgage off in 1 year. I knew mathematically that was the wrong thing to do, but I knew my temperament. I knew my risk tolerance and everything, and the security before quitting my job to do Pokemon full time. So yeah, all the disclaimers were definitely there. The word is conviction. Yeah, I don't have a tenth of the conviction some of these irrationally exuberant folk do.
I've always gotten out of debt before investing. That's always been first. I've never paid a loan, not like that one Dan just said that was pretty quick. I've paid off a couple pretty fast, or had pretty big loans that are only for short term. And I'm always, I'm always going to pay a loan off first, get out of debt. I've been out of debt now for quite a few years, and that's a good feeling, regardless of what's going on. Not getting up in the morning, or end of the month, not having to write out 5 or 6 big payments every month consistently. It's nice when that's gone. It's nice to make. Don't get me wrong. It's nice to make the money on the pallets and stuff, but I would have put $25,000 into a pallet, and $100,000 on my house. There's no way.
And that goes back into the buckets. And I always say these in context to my age, and I talk about in a video a few months ago. I talked about if I was 20 with a net worth of sub 10K, would I have? Well, I probably wouldn't even have a mortgage, but like, would I carry a little bit of debt and roll all my capital in a different situation without kids? Potentially, very potentially, but I'm 36 and the net worth and all the things that I have. So this is the way that I go: emergency fund, get that employer match, pay down high interest debt. I actually pay down low interest debt as well. And then Pokemon happens only over here once all the other obligations are met. That's for me. Like, everyone's situation is going to be different. Again, always with the disclaimers. We got Timmy McGee in here now. He's gonna have some fun questions. Greeny says, "Why not sell 100K and get the Corvette now?" Mustang, yeah, it was Mustang.
I like Corvettes too, but
YOLO, get 2 more years of driving her instead of waiting until Pallet One appreciates to 5 years old. So that's his question.
I have a 66. I have a 66 Mustang I drive all the time. I literally drove it today. And I'm working on actually my new garage gets me. I have a shop, but my Mustang this year will go in the new garage on a portable lift, and I'll probably spend more time on it this year, finishing some things that need to be finished. So I'm already driving a Mustang. I have a 15 Jeep Wrangler. I have a two dirt bikes, on off-road dirt bikes. I have a F-150 crew cab. I have some toys already.
Always has had a lot of toys.
So, and I'd buy, if the right deal came along right now, I would buy another. It wouldn't be a 100K Mustang, but if the right Mustang came along that I could rebuild over the next 5 years, that would be eventually worth 100K. I would buy that today, say like for 25. But I'm having fun. Ask my wife; she'll probably say I'm having too much fun.
Greeny says, with your dad housing some of the pallets, is it required that he also has collectibles insurance, or can your policy cover multiple locations? So my policy does cover multiple locations. His location is added on my policy. If you think about it this way too, it actually makes logical sense. So I'm not going to say exactly what my limit is, because you're not supposed to do that with insurance policies. But it's a big number, and say it was $3 million. If you have $3 million in one warehouse, and that warehouse gets hit by a tornado, hurricane, floods, fire, big theft, whatever, $3 million is gone all at once, all of it all at once. If you have 3 locations with $1 million in each, to some extent, like the insurance company, I guess to be fair, the likelihood of something happening kind of triples, because now there's 3 locations instead of 1, but they're not going to have that $3 million hit. They're going to have a smaller, more manageable hit, I guess. So they, at least with me, it didn't change my premium whatsoever. They gladly added additional locations, and yeah, that's my experience with it, at least. But I am fully insured, inbound, outbound, fully insured with what I store here, with what he stores there. But always, I know a lot of people like to click the button and not read the fine print with insurance policies, with contracts that like, read the fine print. You really should. With ChatGPT and Claude and all these different things, put your contract through there and see what the robots tell you. Is there anything I should worry about here? Am I covered with this, covered with that? It's not going to be perfect, but like, it'll be something. Do a little bit of due diligence on something as serious as that. Garen says, my oldest is 3.5 years old. How long did you wait age-wise to put your kids on as employees? So I talked about this in a recent live stream. This one's interesting. I don't know if I told you this, but so my daughter is 5, my son is 7. I put them both on the business in 2025 as employees, and I paid them a wage, and it went into their Roth IRAs. The Social Security Administration mailed me, and they just said, like, hey, we have documentation that my daughter's name employed. It's like, is this an error? Can you verify? She's very young. We have her date of birth as this. And basically they said, like, we're doubting if this is legitimate or not. And I, like, and it's funny because, like, occasionally we'll sit down and we'll mass break MetaZoo boxes. We'll mass break down Pokemon product. We'll sort singles. We'll, like my kids know their numbers and they have the ability to sort things, and they genuinely do, as they legally need to, contribute to the business. So I sent the form back and I said, yeah, she's 5. Yeah, she does X, Y, and Z for the business. And I sent it in. Talking with the accountant, actually, he recommended I wait till 6, but I'm like, my daughter genuinely does more than my son does. Sometimes we'll be sitting down for an hour doing X, Y, Z, and she will stick it out oftentimes longer than he does. So from my opinion, it's like, maybe it puts me at higher risk of them scrutinizing it due to her age, but functionally, like, truly, she is contributing as much, if not more, than he does on occasion. So if I can pay him validly, I can pay her just as validly. But like that's very much consult your tax attorney, accountant, whoever. I consulted mine, and I kind of went against their guidance on something because it's like, and he actually shared, Mark shared, he shared that he has some clients who have 1-year-olds that they pay on their business. They do photography, and their kid does pictures for like toddler clothing magazines or whatever. So it's like if they legitimately have a job and they're doing something towards that job to earn income and generate income, that is valid. You might have to go out of your way to defend it further, but like, yeah, always do due diligence. I'm not a tax professional, blah, blah, blah.
The Olsen twins.
Mm-hmm.
Watch them working.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, back when they were on Full House, and I don't know if their parents... Actually, Roth IRAs were invented in like the 90s, I think. I don't know whether they were or weren't, but they would have been able to very validly do that at a significantly young age. Timmy McGee, he's going to have a lot of questions for us. I can expect. Papa is quite successful in the trades. What do you think would be the biggest differences on average between super successful doctors and super successful tradesmen, PhDs and super successful tradesmen? What about Timmy PhDs and Timmy trades? What would be the biggest differences on average between super successful PhDs and super successful tradesmen?
One big difference would probably be the amount of money, the debt you'd have to go in to get the PhD. There's a lot of trades that are going to pay you to learn, and then if you take that and you build a business with it, and before you know it, you got 10 employees, you could be a multi, you could be making millions of dollars a year, depending on the trade. I mean, doctors and lawyers getting in the right setup. I think just the education, the cost of education up front is a lot higher, I would say. Like I said, tradesmen literally get paid to learn the trade. If you end up with a PhD, or you've spent a lot of money and a lot of time, and hopefully it works out for you because you're 8 or 10 years into your education or get to your job, and you don't even know if you want to stay doing that forever or if it works out for you or whatever. Where a tradesman has been getting paid to learn for the last 10 years. So, I mean, there's always a thing where like college degrees, university make a lot more money than people with high school educations, and I don't think they ever factor in they just look at what they've made over their life, and they don't look at what they they invested up front. So I think the numbers were always kind of skewed. The 70s thing where work smarter, not harder, and stuff. That was kind of a campaign against the trades. I don't think it worked out too good. You can kind of see it. And, listen to Mike Grove for a while, and he'd probably tell you more about what he thinks about the whole thing.
And if they had just put it all into sealed Pokemon, they'd be so much further ahead. Right, imagine if they just took all the tuition money, didn't go to college, bought 151, they'd be riding high right now. I
was buying junk silver for 10 times face not even that long ago. A few years ago, I bought it for 18 times face. It went to what's it now, about 60 times. It's done a lot, and I could have bought it probably for $5 or $6 times face, 15 years ago. So there's a lot of, I don't know, but that's all. That's different. That's investing in gambling or whatever. But yeah, the education thing I think you can right now. I think you can make a living doing almost anything, mowing lawns, hopefully being a doctor. I mean, we need everybody. It's not the problem. I hear too many times, and I'm in all the trade. I'm more of the trade chats and stuff like that, and it's all us against them. And we did it all. We get paid $100 grand a year, and we didn't have to put a $200 grand up front, and so we're smarter than you. And it's like my doctor I went to the other day. He seemed pretty smart, and I'm glad I hope he doesn't have a ton of debt, and hopefully he's doing pretty good. But he probably had to spend a lot more money to do his job than I did. My job started paying me right out of high school. Not much. But it's done pretty good over the years.
And people do get really weird with all that, us versus them. And it's like, pick your lane, try a little bit of everything, do the best you can for you. Getting caught up in all this division and tribalism and generally very, very negative EV. Like, I don't know why everyone has to do. It's like you can have your beliefs and do your things, and I can have my beliefs and do my things. And as long as, this is very much the rant that I like to have a lot, as long as you're not infringing on someone else's right to life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness, like, just let people do what they're going to do. People get really weird. I'm trying to find the hockey game. I thought I had it on over here, but I don't, apparently. What's it on, NBC? Somebody let me know what channel the hockey game's on. ABC. That should be 9. Okay, there it is. I found it. That's one thing that blows my mind. In this world that we live in, all these streaming services and all these different things, people like forget that radio waves are running through your head every second. Like there's free TV for most people over the air, of all the major networks at least. Every football season, when I see somebody in Discord talking about, I can't find this game, can't find that game, it's like, it's on Fox, it's on ABC, it's on NBC. Turn on your $10 antenna that's stuck in your window. I live in the middle of nowhere and I get ABC over the air. Brandon Vang says, do you ever lose money buying at 80 to 85% and sending to auctions, and auctions end up a bit below market? Yes. I operate at a large enough scale, though, that like in the past week, I've had 50 grand worth of stuff sell at DC Sports. I don't look. Occasionally, I'll do a sanity check and I'll check some individual items, and this sold for that and this sold for that. But I don't do it all the time. I don't do it item by item. I just vibe check it from time to time. Some individual items lose. Most individual items win. And overall, it just makes a certain margin, which is fine. But yeah, I think a lot of people are too risk averse and too loss averse. Like they'll get stubborn. They'll hold something because they don't want to lose money on it. When releasing that cash flow, and going back to what my dad was just saying, I think a lot of people really fail to account for cash flow in a lot of their considerations. If you do a discounted cash flow analysis, going back to my business school, my master's in engineering management, if you do a discounted cash flow analysis on becoming a doctor and spending 60 grand a year for 6 or 8 years versus just year one making 60 or 80 grand or 40 grand to learn your trade, and then 50 and then 60, and then a few years later you're making 100 grand a year in a trade. It's even though they might earn $1 million more over their lifetime or whatever the crazy numbers are, it might never make sense from a value perspective, like a discounted cash flow perspective. And then Brendan Vang also says, would you try to turn 100% of your capital when building up, or would you have saved a bit on the side for future deals? I think one thing that a lot of people do too frequently, going back to cash flow again, a lot of people start investing. It's very exciting to watch two people 4x their gains on a Pokemon palette. But for a lot of people, it's a trap. If you have all the time in the world and you only have 10 or 20 grand liquid cash, do you want to buy an Evolving Skies booster box and watch your 10 grand, buy 4 of them, I guess, and watch your 10 grand maybe go to 20 grand in the next 5 years? Doubling your money over 5 years is great. But if you have the time, why not put the 10 grand into a collection at 80%, sell it for 95%, make 10% margin over and over and over again? If you can turn 10 grand and flip it several times over in that same time duration, you might be able to 5x your money in that time. Now you're adding work and you're doing work instead of just sitting at that. But
sweat equity. Yeah,
everyone's situation is so different. So the only reason that the pallets exist is because at this point in my journey, 12 years down the line, I generally have more capital than I can feasibly turn over myself. So I let some of it sit idly on the side in things that I think will go up over time. But I think a lot of people start investing too much too early. Even if their stuff goes up, they could have outperformed it with active engagement, in as long as you have the time to do it. But I've done consults with doctors and lawyers that own their own practice, that work 100 hours a week, and the last thing they want to do is work more when they get home. They might have 100 grand in 151 that they bought a couple of years ago. They don't have the time to be on Facebook Marketplace and going to shows and vending, and they just want to buy something, truly set it back for 5 or 10 years, and sell it for more later. So if you don't have the time, sure, investing might be more for you. But if you don't have much capital and you have tons of time, like I did 12 years ago, flipping is the way to go, generally speaking. Anything to add on that, or like, I mean, you obviously not engaging in Pokemon directly like that. So he's entirely investing because he doesn't engage in it to begin with. But
as far as the working thing and making like 10%, that's the same as it's same as learning some trades and buying a house for, like, I bought a house for 30,000 before. Right now it's worth probably 300, but that's because I put 100 into it and 100,000, in labor. And I'm a big a fan of sweat equity. And that could be buying a push lawnmower and mowing your neighbor's lawn for $20 a week, and just finding other ways with your time to turn your time and a little bit of investment in tools or whatever into money. As far as, so I would say someone we're better off, especially if you want to get into trades, get out, find some, everybody's looking for help this summer. Right now, everybody's looking for guys to help mow lawns. Shops are looking for guys to sweep the shop. That's where I started sweeping the shops and stuff. And so then you learn stuff. You get paid to sweep the shop, and then every mechanic you walk by, you help for a minute or you talk to, and you're learning the whole time. And then before you know it, you're doing oil changes or whatever, or changing tires, and you're just spending a few bucks into a tool. I mean, a tool can make you a lot of money. I got tools that, I got a lot of money in tools, but it's made me a lot of money. I can make, like I said, I can make a quick $100 right now because I got $50,000 between my welder and plasma cutter and a few other things in the shop, plus the shop and everything else. But I can make a buck real quick now, just on nice little jobs and stuff. So, I would say invest more, or invest in education, as long as you're not burying yourself and going in a ton of debt and stuff. If you can do it while you're working and not just taking on tons of debt and stuff, I guess it's kind of the same thing. So yeah.
How's it going, DJ's Poke Center? Nice to see you in here. Poke Plumber. So I titled this. I need to put this out there right now. I titled this, "My dad has more Pokemon than yours." I think that has been true for every other viewer in the chat until the Poke Plumber entered. I was nervous the whole night. I hope Poke Plumber doesn't show up, because then I'm gonna be a liar. Poke Plumber is he's a plumber down in New Jersey. Massive whale in the space. He has he shows a lot on YouTube. I text with him, I call with him occasionally. He's got a lot, and he's got his dad into it some, and he's doing it at a very high level. But he wanted to know, were you as skeptical as his dad was when we both did this? Obviously, you don't know how skeptical his dad was.
Yeah,
but,
I wasn't afraid to put in on our first pallet. We built that over. I'm not sure how long it took us to. Wasn't like we just both.
Well, pallet one we just did. Pallet one we did.
Like
just,
you had.
Yeah.
Quick.
Yeah.
But I had the money. It wasn't money like I was. I wasn't borrowing money to do it.
Willing and able to lose.
Money I had.
Yeah.
So. And it was like, we'll give it a try. And by the looks of things, we were buying it for less than what it was worth, basically. So I was buying it on sale. It's like people like, well, I bought this stock at 100 and it went to 80, and I'm not going to buy it. It's like, you bought it when it was 100, and now you don't want to buy it when it went on sale. It's kind of the same. I'm lucky because I'm buying into all this stuff on sale. So I kind of, there's stuff. This is kind of a no brainer a little bit, but it doesn't mean it can't go the other way. So I'm skeptical. Yeah, I'm skeptical about everything.
And I think
I'm not a pessimist. I call myself a realist, I guess. I know there's risk with everything.
Part of what I'll say that, like, I went into it very disclaimer, very much like as I am on this channel. I didn't sell him this is guaranteed to do XYZ. There's no downside. If I went into it as the average PokeTuber does, with all rocket emojis, no chance of this going down, guaranteed we're going to double, triple, quadruple our money in X amount of time, I think he would have been a lot more skeptical. I went in it very realistic. Hey, Dad, I quit my job to do this full time. I'm doing big numbers. Like, I'm pretty bullish on this stuff. It could go down. It could be flat for years and years. But, like, I truly believe in this over the long term. So I kind of think that, like, my way that I pitched it to him was very non-salesman-y, as I am with everything. I think that just inherently would have made him less skeptical. His dad says it's fun. Yeah. So we haven't taken any out. My dad is still like significantly net into Pokemon. He's 6 figures into Pokemon. But as far as like unrealized gains on paper,
Is his father a plumber too?
very, very high. I don't know, Nick, if I know what your dad does. Let us know in chat. I don't know if I know what your dad does. Can't remember if you've mentioned it. But I appreciate you being here. Alden2826. Hey, I've never seen any of your videos, but decided to click. Where do you think Pokemon investing is going to be in 10 plus years? So I've said before, I'm short plastic. I'm long on cardboard, though. I think there's some irrationality in today's market. I think a lot of things are going to cool off to some extent. I think $700 booster boxes a year after release is a little bit too high. I think $200 booster boxes 3 months after release is a little bit too high. But I could be wrong. They could go higher. But I generally I think they're going to cool off to some extent. But 5-10 year time frames, I'm very, very bullish. I think a lot of the products that we put on our palette 2 years ago, early Scarlet Violet, late Sword Shield, I think there will be multi-$1,000 booster boxes. The Evolving Skies is already there, but I think there will be several $1,000, multi-$1,000 booster boxes. And I think there'll be healthy returns. Do I think it's a double every year? No. But do I think we will double likely in shorter time with more downside risk? But do I think we will double in shorter time than generally the S&P 500 does? Yes. So I'm going to say this at this point. Likely we're going to go for another 40 minutes. If you have questions, leave them in chat. We've so far, we've pretty much gotten to all of them. I can't promise. Usually when I go live, I get to all of them before I end. I can't promise I'll get to all of them. But very much, as always, appreciate the engagement, appreciate the questions. You guys are the reason that I and we are here. So, yeah, keep them coming. Dad does real estate and plumbing. There we go. So I'm going to – I think I had a couple more questions before that I'll take from Ditto Faction. I did that one. Here's a good one. Oh, here's a good one. Dan often states there's such a thing as enough. Would you agree to that? Have you hit that number, or at your age, are you still left wanting more? So I don't know. I think you're familiar with the whole Mexican fisherman. I think I told you that allegory, right? Or whatever they call it. Basically in life, there's some amount. If you woke up with $50 million in your bank account tomorrow, you'd probably change a little bit what you do. You wouldn't always just try to double and double and double and billions and billions. Like, there's some amount that is truly enough. You probably wouldn't stop doing anything productive just because you want to do something. But yeah, do you agree there's such a thing as enough? And have you hit the number at your age, or are you still left wanting more?
I want to build I guess right now I'm kind of more towards just like building my retirement, just making it a little bit more secure. I mean, this Pokemon thing's kind of helping, but I do, like I say, real estate. I got some stuff. A couple houses, properties. I want to have all my properties, and I have no intention of selling anything I have right now. I have some. I might turn one family into a 2-unit, stuff like that. But I want to do that all in the next few years. It's not that I want a ton more. I mean, I want to always be. I don't really want to be spending money like retirement money anytime soon. I'll be 58 in a few weeks. As far as when I don't know if I'll ever spend. I mean, my goal kind of is maybe to never spend some of this money, unless that's I want to have it there, because some people well, what if you die tomorrow? It's like, what if you live for 30 more years?
Yeah.
So every time somebody says to me, what if you die tomorrow and you didn't do this, and this? It's like, well, one thing that I think would be almost worse if you lived 30 more years and you were broke for 20 of them. It'd be tough too. And there's a lot of people in that position. So I'm always going to be. I'm never going to. Will I ever be retired? No, I'll never retire. Only because I mean I can run an apartment house, at 80 or 90 years old. I can still do some of the little projects I do. I could sit in a chair and do some of the stuff I do, repair work. I can invest in Pokemon or whatever. I mean, I'll sit in a chair and sell Pokemon cards, or coins. My goal is I don't have a crazy amount, but I have a decent amount in like junk silver. And I like the idea of someday not just selling I got like a $100 bag of junk silver. My goal is not to sell it as a $100 bag. My goal is to kind of go through the coins sell out the ones that are just still junk silver, and then maybe make a few extra bucks, because there's some in there that are going to be worth a little bit more, and I want to do that someday. And I even save some coins. Just now, pennies are, we don't make pennies anymore, so I think saving a bucket of pennies isn't the craziest thing to do, because potentially there's going to be some rare stuff for that, and so that'll be my hobby someday, is like going through my coins. And but like I say, I'm fine financially, but I mean, I want to just not spend. Not that I want to make a ton more. I just don't want to start spending money that I might need, if I live 30 more years, if I'm around 30 more years from now, which my father's going to be 86 in September, and he still is doing pretty good.
Yeah, and people who follow my channel know the whole fisherman meme. Some people push back on it, and they don't agree. But one thing that I've always said is, like, I never envision myself being on a golf course every day, being on a beach every day. I think some people are just built in a way where they need to be engaged in something. A lot of times, a byproduct of passion and experience and expertise is just like business revenue. I enjoy creating win-win relationships between me and my independent contractors. I love that part of my job is winning with PK and Ponga and Bierski and Spat and Grimer, and I can't say some people without saying everyone, with the Skya and Java. And did I miss anybody there? I don't think I did.
I'll message you if you did.
Yeah, I'll find out tomorrow if I miss anybody. But PK, Ponga, Bierski, Spat, Grimer, Java, Skya, and then Old School. Yeah, that was the crew that came out to the PokeFest a couple of months ago. But I love that my job every day is like winning together with the homies. And so it's like having more than enough is a byproduct of just doing what I'm enjoying at the time. Does that involve certain administrative tasks that I don't love doing? Absolutely. Everyone's job to some extent is going to have them doing certain things that they would rather not do at the time. That's just part of the job. I'm definitely working towards getting rid of all of those that I can, but it's impossible to limit it entirely. And I always talk about, like, I'm in a situation with kids where for the next 10, 12 years, my kids are going to be in school, and my wife is teaching as well. She wants to teach while they're at the same school as her. So I need to do something. Again, I'm not going to sit around doing nothing. If I had 50 million in my bank tomorrow, would I do everything exactly as I'm doing it today? Probably not. But would I do nothing and go sit on the beach and go golf every day? No, I wouldn't do that either. I would do something. I would offload a couple more responsibilities that I have to do today that I don't love. But generally, I wake up and I do what I want to do, and that's what this is right now, if that makes sense. So this is, I'll answer a couple quick from me. I'll kind of rapid fire a couple that are more targeted towards me. I just joined. Apologies if you already answered, but what are the products filled with air that you're most excited to buy with the warehouse? So like a couple years ago, like I mentioned that space is a little bit of a concern. My basement right now, my garage right now, nightmare situation. I mentioned that booster boxes, loose single packs were like the main thing, because air, all this, like your standard, like this doesn't even have packs in it. This is just a couple promos or whatever. I'm gonna have stuff falling on me from my shelf, but like this thing is huge. I can't put 50 grand into something like this every few months, because it would literally fill my entire house and basement and garage and everything. But having the warehouse now, having a lot more additional space, things like that, I can start doing that with. So that's an example that's multiple years old. But like I bought some of the, I'm terrible with pronunciation, Hiroshima. I don't even know how to say that one. That's the easier one. Fukuoka, and what's the third one? I can't remember. But some of those boxes. So up above me, there are the old poncho boxes, the Mario and Luigi poncho box. Years ago, as sick as it is to say, I couldn't have put 20 grand into those, because, and I mean, hindsight, that would be how many millions of dollars now. But I couldn't have put 20 grand into those because I just didn't have the space. But oddball niche products like that, oddball niche products like the Japanese Pokemon Center promos, the first partner boxes, random collection boxes. Years ago, there was, and people might remember this one, the Eevee box. that has like all the Evolution V's in like a fanned out little rainbow type pattern. There's been a lot of products over the years and I'm like, I think that one's going to do well. I don't have the real estate. I don't have the space to do it. So if and when I identify them, if and when in the future they go onto the pallets, like, subscribe, follow along. Like I'll be telling you what's going on the pallets. So that's some of them. So as of today, my dad has a little bit of warehouse space where he currently is, and there's like a 3-tier pallet rack. My new warehouse will have like a 3-tier pallet rack, probably 12-foot ceilings. You can't get like a full 3-tier pallet there. I think you need more like 13, 14 feet. But if you do some that are a little bit lower, some products don't love being stacked extremely high. Rudy made that video, $17 million he has. This guy on YouTube, he has $17 million in one era of product. Like our pallet one, he has $17 million just of that type of stuff. He probably has $100 million total, if not more. Hundreds of millions, maybe. But he had 20 cases stacked high of some Scarlet and Violet sets. It was crazy. But yeah, I'll have 3 levels of pallets.
But we don't stack them.
Not stacked. They'll be on pallet racks, yeah. Yep. Couple more quick ones. Do I use ZNG? So James is a close friend. I would highlight like anyone that wants to consign on Fanatics. I'm your guy. I don't know of anyone having better rates than I do on Fanatics. Sorry, Dad, I'm going to cover you up for a second. But DM, email, consign, all my rates are right there. But if you're going to sell on eBay, don't use Voldemort. DC Sports, Arizona TCG, Seal Cheese Consignments, ZNG Emporium. I have used him in the past. It's been over a year since I used him, I think. But that's none of his doing. I did not stop using him because he was bad or I don't like him or I'm friends with him. I have the relationship with Fanatics, so I use that. The only reason that I use any eBay consigners at all is because Fanatics doesn't do sealed anymore. The day that Fanatics starts doing sealed, sorry Greeny, sorry Arizona TCG, DC Sports, I probably won't send much of anything to those guys anymore. But I don't look too closely at all my consignment sales. I buy everything at a certain percentage. I vibe check over like a month. I'll send 100K worth of stuff somewhere. And okay, that's getting 95, 96, 90, whatever percent after fees it's getting this. I paid this and I'm making my 5 to 10% margin. I'm happy. I don't check every single item. Dan, how do you package your CGC Fanatics cards? In penny sleeves, in 4-row boxes. I don't have a 4-row box handy, but it's kind of like similar to this. So if you have these prismatic surprise boxes empty, like you could literally do this. If you have 100 cards, say you have 500 cards, you could do 100 with a slip, 100 with a slip. You could pack 500 cards in a thing like this and send them all under one tracking number. You need 5 submission numbers for 500 cards, but that is exactly how I do it. No card savers, no anything, no top loaders, just penny sleeves. Email me, DM me to get started with CGC Fanatics. I got through a bunch of them there. So here's another one for you. You both arrived at the same conclusion that investing heavily in Pokemon is the move, but likely from very different POVs. Where do your investment philosophies overlap and where do they disagree? Well, they overlap in Pokemon, right? Pokemon. That's the easy answer.
That's probably the biggest one, I guess. And that way to disagree, we have different, like I said, Dan's got some silver, I guess. I don't have any, never had any crypto. I don't think I do rental properties, not a lot. But I've always kind of gotten I bought and sold some rental properties. Right now I have 2 because they're on both sides of my shop. So I kind of like it kind of buffers my shop because my tenants are on either side. And they're great. And I got, real good tenants and stuff. And I'm just not making a neighbor mad or nothing like that. Like, so I'm into rentals. Dan's really not into that. I really don't do much other than, like I said, my wife's into the Vanguard. I guess her retirement would be like in Vanguard. And no single stocks or nothing like that. Where Dan's, you got some. I don't know if you got any single stocks. You just do. Yeah, funds. So you do like
Papa has single Vanguard, stocks,
which he probably should be. Maybe shouldn't have, but he's done actually pretty well with the ones he does have.
Yeah. So,
the same would be Pokemon and everything else. Not that we necessarily disagree, but we just don't do the same stuff.
Yep.
In the rental business, the rental works for me because I rebuild the house. I buy a house that needs a lot of work. I rebuild it. I get it rented out. I'm right there. It's nice now having the tenants right next to me. I see them almost every day and wave to them, and they're my neighbors, and they're decent. They're actually real good tenants and stuff. But I wouldn't recommend being a landlord's not great. A lot of people think we're evil and our service. We should let people live in their houses for free, and I don't agree with that. But I probably get 80% of market on my I got a very good location for my apartments, and they could probably do a lot better. But I'm not about all like as much as I can get. I'm more about it being real. I like kind of boring days where my tenants are just happy, and I'm not changing tenants every year and that type of stuff. So, but like I say, the rental thing's not for everybody. If you got to hire everything done, unless you're really got some high end stuff and you can hire everything built or get grant money or whatever, which that happens more and more. But as far as Dan doing rental, I wouldn't. Maybe got a smoking deal on an Airbnb on a lake somewhere. I'd maybe tell them to do that, but
yeah,
not just rentals somewhere because and a lot of people are like, well, I want a 4 or 5 unit, and the 4 or 5 unit, you're going to buy it maybe not the nicest place, and that's not. If you are going to get into rentals, you got to stay with. You got to know the area. You got to hopefully be close to the area. I know people that we work for people HVAC that live in Florida and try to have a apartment up here and not the greatest area and stuff, and it's like you can just see they're just losing money all the time. It just doesn't work out for them. So
yeah, I had the thought years ago that maybe someday part of my portfolio would be real estate, and some current happenings with some of my dad's stuff that it's sick. It's sick to say this, but like I was an hour into listening to our thing last year, and you brought it up a little bit. You're still ongoing, the same foreclosure situation that was going on a year ago. He's in right now.
I was 2 years in it a year ago. It's 3 years old now.
Yeah,
it's not over. Now, my only advice on that: you cannot hold a private mortgage.
Yeah,
you cannot. You got to just do a rent to own thing if you really got a good tenant. You can't do the contract, the mortgage, everything was wasn't worth the paper. I could have wrote a better contract with a crayon and a napkin. And it's kind of a weird thing, and it's still ongoing, and there's no end, and I'm at the point right now just because I'm thinking of offering the guy like a chunk of money that I should never have to do just to try to have this be over.
Take money to leave, yeah. And this is something that's like a tie-in. I've not followed it closely. My dad will have no idea. I barely have an idea. I'm chronically online, so I have some idea. There's currently like an ongoing legal dispute over some Lego consignment, whatever, multi-100,000, blah, 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 contracts and this and that. You'll come to find, hopefully you won't come to find this in your adult life, but like you might come to find in your adult life that just because you do or do not, may or may not have a contract, the law around some of this stuff, like no matter what's written down and who signed what, actually interpreting and enforcing that in the court of law, and it's a nightmare. It is a nightmare situation. The Lego saga foreclosing on what should be an obvious thing. There's a contract that said that this amount would be paid on this date over this amount of time. It wasn't done. Penalty issues, fees, and eviction, blah, blah, blah. Things, especially when it comes to housing, things just absolute nightmare. Hopefully you never have to find out how contract just because a contract exists. And your brother, like my uncle years ago, he went through this thing with a tenant and he sued and he won. He had a judgment for X amount of money. And did he ever collect a penny of that? I don't believe so, right? Like
he never did, and these guys were habitual.
Yeah.
They literally did this. I know personally of 2 other places they did this because it's kind of everything. Everybody knows everybody. And they probably did it 3 or 4 more times than that. And they never were held accountable. They're almost not only not held accountable, but protected.
Yeah.
It's kind of like I say, the real estate thing. I should have just sold the house outright or kept renting it, just saying, look, someday I'll sell it to you, and then just held all the cards And I literally would have said, 10 years from now, I'll sell you the house for 25 grand.
Sold it all and put it into Pokemon.
Yeah. Oh yeah, I would have been right now. Yeah. It's a shame because the people that don't think much of landlords and stuff. I was a landlord to this guy for 3 years, and I sold him the house. His closing costs were nothing, hardly no PMI. I got a little bit higher interest than at the time. Maybe it was like 4.5. I think it was at 6%. So I did get a little bit higher interest just because I'm a private guy and stuff. Made him put very little bit down. He paid for a while, and then it went bad. And I hired a lawyer. I'm $11,000 into a lawyer 3 years later. The guy just paid 4 payments, 4 months late. He hasn't paid this month again yet. The judge has protected him literally a half a dozen times, and lawyers and stuff between bankruptcy and different things and stuff, and it's just, and then even as the judge makes a rule that this is what's going to happen if this doesn't go right, then we're finally going to let you, I'm basically going to try to just buy the house back, and then the judge will make a rule and literally not stick to his rules he made 90 days ago, and they don't do anything. Whatever you think takes a long time when it comes to lawyers and judges and the court system, it's 30 days. If you're lucky, something happens in 30 days. It's 60 days. It's 90 days. It's 100. They think nothing of something. 6 months. When I started this thing, my lawyer said if everything goes good, this will be over in about a year and a half.
They've not gone.
So I've 3x'd. I've 3x'd on this too, because we're 3 times what it was going to be. And I've paid close to 3. I probably owe him money right now, and I think he's starting to feel bad about it. I know I must owe him money, but he hasn't charged me in a while. But I've 3x'd on this. I'm 3 times into more than what I thought I was going to be, and it's taken 3 times longer, and there's no end in sight. So my only advice, like I say, if you own a rental, if you own a piece of property, I see people on Facebook once in a while, and I don't know them from anybody. And they'll say, I'm selling a property, it's 40 grand. It looks like a nice little thing. It's something to work on or whatever. And they'll mention about holding a mortgage, and I will message somebody. I have no idea who they are, and I will message them, and I say, listen to me, you cannot do that. You cannot hold a private mortgage, and if you want to ask me some more questions, I'll tell you everything I know, and you can't do that. And I've had people thank me for giving my heads up on there's somebody out there right now, somebody legal, maybe they'll jump in and say, no, you could have wrote it up this way and wrote it up that way, and you tell me how you could have wrote it up, and I'll tell you right now, the judge that'll tell you.
At the end of the day,
a
contract is a piece of paper, and you need to pay someone to enforce it. And again, depending on where you live, and if we lived in a certain different state and county and blah blah blah, it may have been significantly easier.
This went federal. This actually went as soon as the bankruptcy comes in. Now you're dealing with federal, and the federal judge, a bankruptcy judge is more federal, so that's covered for anybody. You could be anywhere, and that protects. And I'm not against if something was going real bad or this or that or something shady was going on. I'm not, or somebody was trying to rip somebody off. I'm all for protections, but there's got to be an end. They got to tell me, this is going to last 3 more years. At least I have there's an end, and it's not, like I said, I don't see an end yet. And the worst part is I did it. I got into Pokemon, and that went good. So that's if anything, Pokemon's offset all my losses on that as well.
So it's like there's Pokemon.
Yeah, there's good and bad.
There's MetaZoo and holding mortgages. They're down here. I think MetaZoo. So MetaZoo, give MetaZoo some credit. MetaZoo is outperforming holding private mortgages, right?
In this one, but my first house I bought was a private. It was $25,000, and it was basically a tear down. But I rebuilt it. I put down 5, and the guy held a mortgage on 20. Another lady loaned me 30. A family friend loaned me 34,000. That was at 8% interest back in 90. I paid all that back, so that worked out great for both of them. They both made good money. Everything was paid in full. I didn't think it was an option. There was never an option. I worked 7 days a week. There was no option but to pay that mortgage on time. Actually, the house I'm in, one of the houses I own right now, a guy that I've known my whole life, he held a private mortgage on that house, and I paid him off in I think about 6 years. It was an 8-year note. Paid him off, and I bought my garage and stuff from him too. I held a private mortgage for my niece and her husband, and that went great. So it can work out, but the people owing the money need to just they don't need to pay. They can. There's a lot of ways to avoid it, but in the end, he owes more. He actually owes more now. He'll never own the house. If you're watching, you'll never own the house because you just keep. Every 4 months, my lawyer actually sends a letter. If you don't pay within 14 days, you risk us putting the house back in the market where I can eventually buy it back. He pays, and then it just starts the clock over again. And I don't know. I would think that would happen 3 times, maybe 6 times. There's no number on when that stops. But every time that happens, my lawyer, another couple $100 for my lawyer gets added to the principal. Penalties get added, and there's interest accruing at 6% on whatever the principal is now. I'd need a forensic. I don't even know how we'd ever even figure out exactly where it's at. It's going to take me and Dan will have to sit down sometime for a couple hours and even figure. My lawyer says he's got to figure it out, but I don't think he really does.
ChatGPT will make it easier to calculate all that.
Yeah.
So we're probably going to go for another 15 minutes. I have a handful of more starred questions. If you have any final ones, let me know in the comments. Here's a good one from Ditto Faction that came in before. Again, Ditto Faction, thanks for all the questions before we went live. What is one good quality Dan has inherited, one less than good quality that is a chip off the old block? So Ditto Faction wants to know, looking at me, what's a good thing I inherited from you and a bad thing I inherited from you?
Responsibility and the bad thing, my wife will say, was maybe a couple of cocktails. Just being responsible. Dan was always good. Dan's been better with numbers, I think, than most people at a real young age. I'm good with numbers, not like them numbers with letters and all them that type of crap. Numbers that pertain to everyday stuff. I'm real good with that stuff in my head, and just knowing what I can handle and whatever. But so yeah, just being good with just being responsible, good with numbers. He's way better at like school and stuff. He was always a lot better than me with certain stuff. I mean, in shop class and stuff, I was up there pretty high. I built a Volkswagen Dune buggy in BOCES, small engine class in BOCES. I built a Volkswagen Dune buggy and I built a boat, stuff like that. So I kind of done that type of stuff. But as far as just having good work ethics and stuff, I think, and as far as bad qualities, you'd have to ask the wife.
Yeah, you'd have to ask my mom or my wife. Somebody actually asked.
We all chip. I don't know. I mean, I don't know. We all, like the doctor asks, how many drinks you have, and if you're honest, and they'll be like, well, maybe have a couple less.
See, I don't.
I didn't go to college, so I really didn't. I actually didn't party at all. I worked. I didn't party at all when I was younger.
And I don't know if this is better or worse, but I think I don't know how regularly you drink exactly, but I don't drink very regularly. But when I drink, I usually drink for the night. I usually, like, once this live stream ends, the night is young, I might hop on, play a little RuneScape. I might have a few more beverages. I usually go kind of big when I have some beverages. So
I hang out with some friends at night in the garage, and we have a few drinks, and there's nights I don't have any at all. And then there's sometimes if I might walk home. I have about a quarter mile one way I have a VFW and a quarter mile the other way I have a Legion. And if I I don't do shots. I mean, I have shots in my Jack and Coke. But I'll walk home if I know that I've had but I haven't. It's not a while since I've had. I'll say too many. Depends on who you ask. My wife's probably watching. Honey, how many?
Timmy McGee wants to know, what's an opinion you held strongly 5 years ago that you've completely changed with respect to sealed Pokemon investing? I'm actually. Oh, so sealed Pokemon, you specifically state. What opinion did I strongly hold 5 years ago? Honestly, what's the saying? There's some saying about like strong opinions loosely held. Strong opinions weakly held is a decision-making framework. I think I think that's the way I've always been. I think I wouldn't even say they're strong opinions. I think I have like moderate opinions loosely held. In the face of new evidence, I am open to changing my opinion on just about everything. I think one of the worst qualities in humans, in humanity in general, I think there's a lot of people that just, this is this way, and no amount of evidence will tell me otherwise. Like, we live in a world, this is a rant I've had many times. I don't know where I put my phone, but there it is. I put this box on it that I lifted up earlier. We have supercomputers in our pocket. I've gone on this rant a lot recently. People think we didn't land on the moon. People think the world is flat. It's scary, the amount of ignorance there is out there. And I think there's a lot of people that just have strong opinions that they will die on that hill over. And they don't even consider them opinions. Every belief they have is outright fact. I'm one that almost borders on, I'm like too on the fence. I'm too ready and willing to let every opinion go in the face of new evidence. So I don't have any answer for this, I don't think. I don't think there's any opinion that I strongly held and believed in as some like core thing. 5 years ago, when vivid voltage was 300 and people out here were guaranteeing that it would never go below XYZ, and then it went to 100 for multiple years, I always knew. I always know, probably to too much of an extent, I always know that the long tails are like way wider than most people realize. The downside is way lower than most people realize, and the upside is way higher than most people realize. So yeah, I can't even think of a good answer here, because I've always just appreciated the vast extent of outcomes. 2021, what did I think? I mean, I quit my job then.
I was gonna say, I didn't think about investing in Pokemon probably 5 years ago.
And I was
now
like,
I'm pretty big fan of it.
I guess I don't know if I was asked at the time, but if someone had asked me, Dan, is it possible? And I'm saying this immediately after I said, like, I always knew the tails were very wide, but I wouldn't have thought it was very likely. I would have attributed less than a 1% chance probably that a box would ever be worth more than $500 within a year of release, at a time when Destined Rivals currently is worth it's a year and 5 days old, and it's worth $700 a booster box. Like, that's insane. So I guess a little bit to the upside, I've doubted, but that's the best answer I can come up with.
5 years ago, I thought you could sell a house with a private mortgage.
Yeah, there you go.
I didn't know. Because I did for years, and I like I said, now I strongly
and it worked every time.
Disagree with it. It's actually sad. Like,
it worked every time until it didn't.
I just, the bad part about the whole thing is I literally asked a judge to enforce a contract, a legal binding contract, and they haven't yet.
Peak says the moon is hollow. That's his conspiracy.
Cheese. What kind of cheese?
Gouda cheese.
Gouda cheese. That's the best cheese.
Brendan Vang says, do you have a minimum purchase amount from a seller before it's no longer worth your time? My current minimum for buying is like $1,000. Logistically thinking about it, honestly, it's one of those things that's like a remnant of years ago. I should increase it. But I have a lot of recurring, I guess I'll call them suppliers. I have a lot of recurring suppliers that, like, every other week they're selling me $1,000, $2,000, whatever. And they're great to deal with. And so I don't know if I'll ever raise it from 1,000, but logistically, I'm very transparent. I did my video back in January. Through my consignments, through my streamers, through everything, $9.3 million last year. If you do the math on how many transactions do you have to go through to come up with $9.3 million in economic activity, that's a lot. If I'm buying all of those items and I'm not buying them all, consigners and streamers and all that, but 1,000 is low. But again, tomorrow I'm meeting up on a $39,000 collection, and next week it's a $50-something thousand. So yeah, right now it's 1,000, which is, from some respects, barely worth my time. But I probably won't drastically increase it. Maybe one thing I'll do is, like, if you're new, 2,500. If I've dealt with you before, 1,000. But yeah, that's my thoughts on that. What booster boxes would you recommend to be buying for long-term holds? I showed earlier, like I never give financial advice. I tell people what I'm doing, what we're doing, and why. I will never tell people what to buy, what to sell. All the pallet videos are out there. Like, subscribe, follow along. Every couple years or every year, I will update what's going on. I will show you what's on the pallets. Here are the four pallets. They're all there. So I'll never recommend what to buy and hold, but I'm buying and holding a little bit of everything. So this is my last starred question. If anyone has any final questions, we're going to wrap up in the next 5 or 10 minutes. Coming up on 2.5 hours, coming up on 9 Eastern. I don't know about anyone else out there. I'm a Rangers fan. Not a big fan of the Hurricanes because of that. I'm pulling for the Vegas Knights. They're up 1-0 in the game. They're up 1-0 in the series.
And the coach used to be
Tortorella, right?
Yeah, Tortorella.
On let me know in the comments in the chat if you're if you're pulling for the Knights or pulling for the Hurricanes if you're watching the Stanley Cup Finals right now. And then basketball last night, Knicks went up 1-0 on the road. Definitely pulling for the Knicks. Back in the 90s, Latrell Sprewell, Allen Houston, Patrick Ewing. I used to have posters of some of those guys in my room growing up. So nostalgic too around the time that I was getting into Pokemon too. But I'm mulling the idea of starting a consignment business. What wisdom would you impart? How would you work to compete even locally with the large mainstream consignment businesses? I think the biggest thing, you will not be able to offer the percentages that the big ones internationally, nationally offer. But one benefit, a lot of people are afraid of shipping. Do it locally, insure collectors insurance services, insure the entire process, deal with them, middleman for them, take ownership of all the shipping and all that stuff with insurance backing you. But that's a huge advantage that I can't compete. So like these rates that I'll show again, I'll cover my dad again, but these rates that I have here for consigning on Fanatics, you won't be able to offer this high because you don't have the rates with Fanatics. You won't be able to offer as high as Sealed Chiz or Z&G or DC Sports or Voldemort or Arizona TCG. But one benefit that you have, maybe you'll just middleman into Z&G. Maybe you'll just middleman into me. I know multiple people. Shout out to I don't know if Drew is listening. Shout out to what's his thing called? Oh God, I was gonna shout him out and I can't remember the name of his service. Graded Gem Inspector. Look up Gem Inspector on Instagram. He basically facilitates consignments into me from some amount of people that are local to him or whatever it may be. He does pre-grading. And yeah, like there's a lot of angles you could take it. Gem Inspector is one example of that. You could be somebody who just deals with people who don't want to ship and you insure all that. And kind of like GameStop, kind of the way GameStop is working with facilitating PSA grading. There's a lot of angles. Those are some of the ideas. Let's see. I think that's everything. I don't see new questions coming in. Peak says, I dropped a question for Papa Dan
Yeah,
above.
I looked it up. Actually, it's up above. It was about if I ever enjoyed opening the pack. Was that the question?
Oh, maybe.
What makes you excited about Pokemon other than
Oh, here we go. I missed this one. Or I might have intentionally not taken this one. Sorry, Peak. He doesn't really open packs. We opened Prismatic last year. We didn't pull a God pack. But yeah, what makes you excited about Pokemon other than you and Junior's gains?
Just how good it's going. The business for Dan's business is going, I guess. Whether I invested or not in it, I mean, that's obviously makes it kind of neat because we're doing so good. But just how, regardless of what our investing did, I mean, the business itself is doing real good. So yeah, just you want to see your kids do good.
With that, I didn't think it was going to happen, but we actually did it. We made it all the way to the end. We took all the questions that came in before the pod. We finished all of them during the live stream. Appreciate you being here. Hot Singles TCG. Appreciate everyone else being here. All the questions. Any parting wisdom? Anything you want to add? There was somebody who actually asked, like, why only annually? Why not quarterly? I've told my wife. I've told like anyone who wants to come on can come on. Barring my kids, like my kids have actually asked, like, can you put us on your YouTube? I feel weird about having my kids on YouTube. Not that I'm a big viral channel or anything, but they're not consenting adults, so like it just feels weird to like put them out there in the internet space. But same time next year or semi-annually.
Maybe we'll show some updates. Maybe we'll try to do some updates on the
warehouse.
The warehouse. We're starting to demo it at literally. Well, Dana started tearing some stuff
last
out.
night. I started demoing. Yeah, my
lift's coming over with a guy I work with, another contractor, and we're gonna start at least get it. I got a man lift. I'm not a big fan of ladders anymore. I've done a lot of climbing and stuff and got away with a lot of things. And now I have a very expensive man lift that's sits in my shop, and I bought it brand new, and I tow it behind my pickup when I go to do anything. And so tomorrow we'll work out of my lift and demo the building down and get it ready, get it demoed and get cleaned up, and then we can get the building permit we can start on it. And we'll pick away at it all summer, get it closed up before fall. So yeah, as far as you can do it, you can make a living doing anything. This show proves it.
Personal responsibility. Yeah. Don't hold the mortgage, especially in states like New York.
Yeah, you can't. You can do that. You just can't. You just don't do it. I'll write the contract for you.
Well,
don't transfer it. You can't.
Even
I
transfer
the deed like a bank would have. I transfer the deed. No PMI. That's why I say I charge a little bit more interest, but hardly nothing. Sold it. There's renters right out there. Someday it'd be a 10-hour show with a big, huge wall full of dry erase board and just a timeline. And like I said, is as bad as I make this seem, it's as good as our Pokemon pallet's done. I mean, the other way. It's
Pokemon pallet, MetaZoo pallets, holding a mortgage.
Let's wait. You wouldn't see. It'd be more Dan's foot.
Not to scale. Yeah, that would be through the floor.
I eventually, I guess, since the legal system hasn't worked, eventually I probably have to offer this guy money I could be invested in Pokemon.
We've got some demand for.
It would be but I can take it. I know there'd be a lot of there'd be tenants on there because tenants, not all tenants, a lot of tenants love being tenants. I mean, if I couldn't do the stuff I do, or me and my wife, it didn't have the property we have, and my property I live in is one level. I built it brand new out of a pole barn. There's not a step in it, and I'd making it simpler and simpler. The reason I added my garage in so my vehicles don't sit out in the snow because I live in upstate New York. So I'm doing whatever I can to make things easier and easier and easier. So as far as that would be it'd be cool, but and like I say, some people would be like, well, you deserved it because you were a land. No, it's like, so if you were my tenant and I rented to you for $900 a month, and this was a nice house that I had redone. I owned it for about 12 years, made it really nice. Just literally put central air in it before I moved these tenants in. Brand new septic. It's on an 1.5 acres on a state road, but back from it, 1,300 square feet of garage, 1,000 square feet of living space. It was $900 a month to rent it. I sold it, held a mortgage for $624 a month, $1,000 to $1,200 a year for, say, a property or homeowners insurance that they had themselves, and $100 a month in taxes. Very good school, same school that my daughter and Dan went to. Very good location. So there'd be people, tenants out there right now that would literally, let's say they'd kill for this opportunity, but they might. They'd be sick to realize the opportunity that this guy is screwing up.
And going back to what I was saying earlier, and the American dream and victimhood and personal responsibility, I don't know the guy.
This guy's got
but he's a victim of everything and not taking personal responsibility. And it's like,
everybody, and I understand, we all, he's told me texting and this and that when he would finally get back to me, is like all these problems he had. And it's like, at some point it's like, well, I've dealt with stuff at the same time. We all dealt with this.
There's that.
I've dealt with some pretty hard stuff myself. In the last amount of time, while he's dealing with stuff. And
there's that Daryl Worley song, Sounds Like Life to Me.
Yeah.
There's two guys sitting at a bar and the guy's going on, and it's like, sounds like life. Stuff happens. And some people, I've had X, Y, and Z, and this and this, and so they just like, I'm a victim. There's nothing I can do, and they cast it on everyone around them. But then there's some people that like own their situation, and they go out and they, again, given an opportunity, he's got an opportunity he doesn't realize. Maybe 10, 20 years out, he'll grow up, he'll realize what opportunity he blew with what he had. But probably, sadly, more likely not than that he will. But
and I take responsibility. I did this. I had this guy as a tenant. I rented this house out. It wasn't, I just wanted to get back. I bought 2 houses closer to my shop that I can walk to do maintenance on and do work on. So I gave this guy this opportunity after he was, but I did it based on he was a 3-year good tenant. I did it based on I hired a lawyer, he hired a lawyer. Everything was done with a lawyer and a contract. Everything was done on the up and up. So in my mind, I thought I did it where I covered myself, and he was covered too. He had the same. I had to follow. You know, if he paid what he was supposed to pay all along, it's not like I could just show up and start renting the house to somebody else or using part of it or whatever. So, it's the fact that I did it 100%. I take responsibility for doing it, but then to learn how that I did. I thought I protected myself, and I did not. You couldn't, as far as what I can see, I haven't seen any case where I transferred the deed like I said, like a bank would have done, just like I did, because I bought houses in the past the same way and sold houses in the past, and it always went good.
This
one didn't.
This house I bought on a short sale, and it was a very prolonged thing. Ultimately, it worked out for me in the end. I ended up getting it. Hindsight, whatever, it all worked out. But yeah, it can definitely be a nightmare. But with that, I think we're gonna call it. As always, appreciate everyone watching. What a great question to end it. Are we booming, or are we booming? I would say we are booming.
We're booming right now.
I appreciate everyone hanging out. Thanks, Dad, for being here.
Yep.
We'll see you at worst a year from now. He will be back,
probably less.
if not significantly sooner.
Yeah, this is fun.
We will
by fast. It's actually.
We will commit to next May, June at the latest.
Yeah, we definitely got to do a year.
Yeah, but hopefully significantly before then. Maybe a 6-month check-in from the new warehouse. We'll see. But yeah, as always,
if I get my house back,
we'll follow.
I'll come out. I'll tell you how much cash I'm going to offer this guy to just get him. That's what's going on now. If anyone that's in rentals and stuff, they've literally given up on the legal system to a point where it's called, and everybody's probably heard, anybody about real estate or rentals, it's cash for keys. If they want to get their house, be able to sell their house, even to sell your house. If I get this house back, if I went to the auction, bought the house back, then I would start an eviction process. That's how insane this thing is.
It's not even
could be 3 to 6 more months of me after I own the house back, deed back in my name, guy not paying me a penny. I would still have to do an eviction after all. You think that would be included? It's kind of like an oil change and not getting like the oil, or going for a tire, and not getting the tires put back on, the type thing. So, I'm willing to throw some cash at this to make it go away. And the cash for keys things is people are offering tenants, not caring where they end up afterwards. They're basically giving them $5,000, $6,000, $7,000, so they have a deposit somewhere
to leave.
And the sad part about they're kind of sending them down. They're kicking the can. It's down to their neighbor that they're going to rent from next, but they're at least getting their property back. They're ending their. There's a guy. I think he's on. It's a TikTok videos, probably YouTube too. And all he does is goes into these houses that he buys them. And when he gets them and there's somebody there squatting or whatever, haven't paid in 3 years, maybe since since 2020 for the COVID and everything. And he'll just go in and say, here's, when can you be out? Here's $8,000, here's $5,000. And it gets them out. Then they become, I'm thinking they become somebody else's problem, because I'm sure he doesn't, if somebody calls, he doesn't vouch for him or anything like that, but it at least gets him out of his property. And you can't deal. If I could go back in time right now, I would take $25,000 in $100 bills, and I would have paid this guy to leave my house, and I would be farther ahead than I am right now.
It would have been an investment rivaling the Pokemon Pals, but
right. It wouldn't have been as good if I put the $25,000, but it still would have been. It would have been good because houses.
It would have beat the MetaZoo.
Yeah, I gave him a good deal. Sold the house for $80,000, and it didn't need nothing. So anybody out there that's renting could be owning this place for about $850 a month with taxes and insurance. House that didn't need nothing for the next 10, 15 years. And this guy's messing this deal up. So,
yep. But yeah, thanks everyone.
Life.
That's life.
Sounds like life to me.
Yeah.
Thanks everyone for hanging out. We will catch you all
later.
later.